of time spinning away, and nobody open. Now he flips it up into traffic and makes a mistake. Tried to force the play, and it's intercepted. B.J. Mays rumbling down inside the 10.
This is 365 Sports.
Bowling Green with no timeouts. Nick Singleton. Touchdown, Penn State.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Klubnik, undaunted, unafraid, complete, Turner, touchdown!
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Why not? Tomato juice,
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
Jennings on the play fake, slides it upfield. Matthew Hittner off to the races. Hittner at the 30, full speed, and the big tight end goes 75. It's a Pony Express.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we go on this Tuesday afternoon. Good afternoon, 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. We appreciate your time. By the way, hit the subscribe button if you have not yet done that, or subscribe to the channel. We would appreciate that. And also the like button, too, if you haven't done that. We have guests today, including ESPN's Adam Rittenberg, Shahan Jaraja, CBS Sports, Craig's Off the Radar, John McClain, Paul's Top 5, and Andrew Valade with a poll that is already up and about expanding college football's playoff or not, and we'll have the results at the end of the show. Today is National Wing Day. So here is a graphic that I saw on Twitter as probably about one of the best watching any kind of sports food you could have, a pizza, whatever else. But these are some of the specials. If you guys were going to do and order wings, which one of those would be your pick?
Wingstop. We don't have a Zaxby's, although that would be a coin flip for me because I quite enjoy Zaxby's. We don't have an Applebee's anymore, but it would be Wingstop for me.
I've never had Zaxby's, so I don't even know what that's like or what that tastes like or how would I even compare it. So I can't really use that one. So never had Whataburger wings.
I haven't either.
Never
didn't even know they had them.
Had Applebee's wings. I don't think. If I did, they didn't stick with me. So I think I would go with Wingstop as well. That's what I'd go with.
There is a Wingstop about not even a mile from here, over there across the bridge off of Franklin, not far from back when I first moved here in 2010, where the original radio station was located. But there we are with that.
Downstairs.
Huh?
It was downstairs.
Yeah, it was. It was below us. It was right below us.
Believe me, Board Up Paul frequented that Wingstop. I know it's like shocking to look at me and think that happened, but yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of people on the chat will give us your opinion if you don't mind. Also, the poll is up in the chat on the college football playoff expansion or the March Madness tournament. Should they each expand? You have your choice, one, both, or none of the above. So this is the list of teams in college football based on Brett McMurphy. This is, again, from Brad Powers, projected to be favored in every game right now on their schedule. None of these are a surprise. Arizona State, maybe. Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. If it's Georgia, then it can't be Texas, right?
Yeah.
So there we are with that. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Arizona State. Craig, your thoughts? Anybody on that? Not a surprise. These are 5 really good programs coming off really good years. There's maybe 1 or 2 missing, but your thoughts about the list?
Yeah, I mean, they can't have Texas and Georgia on there, obviously, because they play each other, as you were just pointing out. So, can't have everybody. And so, Don't think there's really too much of a surprise outside of maybe Ohio State, just because people feel like they could take a step back. But what are you looking at? Maybe a couple games on that schedule where they may not win, like the Michigan game. But on paper right now, I think even with Ohio State's questions, you're still taking them over Michigan right now at this point. So, yeah, I mean, that's an easy one because I think that's probably the case most every single year for Ohio State. Notre Dame's in a really good place right now. Georgia, that'd be a fun one to take just because I don't think they're completely bulletproof. And I do think if you believe that Texas, for example, can jump up and bite them, then that could be a good pick to go against. Clemson, we know the hype surrounding them right now. And I think Arizona State's probably the most interesting one, actually, because I think they're the least sure thing of these other teams. And I don't think these other teams are sure things either, but I think I'd take these other teams before I would take Arizona State if I'm picking somebody to put my money on. And that's just because I think Arizona State's more equal to their counterparts week in and week out than everybody else is week in and week out. So for Arizona State, that means that you have them beating Texas Tech when they play this year. And Tech getting a lot of love this offseason. That means you've got them beating Baylor and TCU and Iowa State and Ames. And, beyond that, I can kind of see where they're coming from because I don't worry too much about going to Starkville, although you never know. I mean, G.J. Kinney and company are great, but that's at home. Baylor at Utah is another game that could get there's a stretch for the Arizona State schedule. They play Baylor, TCU, Utah, and Tech.
Yep, and they lost to Tech last year, early in the year, back in September.
They did before anybody knew that they were going to be worth, a championship at the end of the year. So, yeah, there's some reason to believe Arizona State's going to be great, but I almost feel like people are going overboard with how good Arizona State is now, post-Camp Scataboo. I still have my questions about that.
Making up for what everyone thought about them last year.
I think that's the problem with the preseason polls, though, is because all you do is you just revert it to the way the things ended the year prior, so long as nothing went completely crazy, like you lost all your team to the draft or your head coach changed over or something like that. But Arizona State's on top because, yes, the quarterback and the head coach and the wide receiver and a lot of the guys they have back. But, it is like people have almost overcorrected to where now they're the favorite. And I think that stretch in the middle of their schedule will be really interesting football. And who knows, if they roll in and they go unbeaten in the Big 12, then Kenny Dillingham's going to have every major job in America that's open knocking on his door because that would be quite the feat to just roll in and just be pretty much dominant if you were to pull that off. I think Arizona State's the least likely to do this, but it's a fun bet to think about.
By the way, before you respond, Paul, Brad Powers, better college football power rating, kind of like Kelly ratings, podcast, Bet the Board pod, and at Cover. So he is someone that does the power rankings, and that's the one that Brett McMurphy alluded to.
Yeah, and Craig, one of the things you said I thought was interesting where you said, the preseason polls is just you kind of revert back to the way things finish unless your team got rated by the draft or your head coach left. Well, even now, they don't even look at the teams who got rated by the draft.
Texas
and Ohio State, and they're 1-2 because they, Fox really wants that game to be number 1 versus 2 to open up. They might finish 1-2. I don't know. But, and then you throw in the fact that everybody's roster gets pretty well shaken up every year. And the ones who are going to be good in this new era are the ones who have balanced out making the right personnel decisions, as opposed to, look, it's pretty easy to see when you had Nick Saban in the middle of all this stuff, having the number 1 to number 3 recruiting class every single year. And you go, okay, well, he's going to lose a couple guys, but a lot of those guys played and they'll come back in. But now, okay, just say 2 5-stars that you get that you would have kept for 3 years now, every single year that you got are going to go someplace else. And they're not going to go someplace else together. One of them might wind up at Western Kentucky because he really flamed out. One of them might wind up at Georgia, one of your bigger rivals. The way that things work now, and we'll have Rittenberg on here in a second to talk about it, but the preseason polls have never really been that relevant, but now they're even way harder to do and far less relevant because teams can turn over so fast and so much that how would you even know until you saw them play 3 or 4 games?
Yeah, that's the fun part about it, is to see who is completely overshadowed, underrated, not getting enough attention. By the way, I want to bring this up, and I asked everybody. Garrett Ross, everyone on camera looks really spectacular. What did we do?
We got new cameras in today.
Well, you can tell.
The youngins set up before the show.
You can absolutely tell. Brandon Rowe and Andrew Valet, great. You can really, really tell, thanks to ownership for what they've already done in this short amount of time. They are absolutely spectacular.
They're cannons.
Oh.
Yeah. And look, the cameras we had before are nice. We're going to continue to use them on the road. But I'd never heard of that brand. I have heard of Canon, so that must mean that they're better.
No, the other ones were nice, but those I just happened to see. I could see both of you, and then that's the first time I've looked at the camera with me on there. Thank you very much to ownership for making that happen. Now, what's going on with DJ Lagway? I saw a little bit of speculation yesterday, and then here is the story. DJ Lagway dealing with a new injury ahead of training camp, according to multiple sources. And one of, by the way, the notes I saw from Matt Baker earlier today is that they're just going to kind of take their time with him. He had someone reported yesterday, and also this is not just someone, Zach, that he was in a walking boot, limited as they start their preseason camp day to day, and has made quick progress to be where he is at this particular time. So just something to monitor with him.
He said at media days it was a lingering injury from last year, and look, he plays. I'll kind of compare him. The only person I can think of in my mind is King Griffey Jr., where the dude plays so hard that he's going to get banged up. Like King Griffey Jr. he probably had injuries that cost him 100 home runs, in his career, if you think about it. Yeah. DJ Lagway is probably going to be, because of the way he plays is so intense and so hard, he's going to have injuries that are going to cost him some games and some touchdown passes, because he had the shoulder issue that they had to deal with in the spring. Now he's got this lower leg injury, but it doesn't seem to be all that bad, but these things can linger. And you certainly don't want him missing too much practice as you ramp up, because after DJ Lagway on the roster, they really don't have, and nobody's really, it's getting kind of like the NFL. If you can start at quarterback, you don't sit around and wait behind somebody very long. There's not too many Arch Mannings of the world. So DJ Lagway is the quarterback there for the next 2 years, until somebody else comes, until he leaves and somebody else comes in. So they don't really have a whole lot of depth behind there that can kind of run with the offense like DJ can. So it's pretty concerning early on for the Gators.
Yeah, you don't have a veteran. You don't have a star like Arch Manning. You have a guy who's on his fourth team in Harrison Bailey, who's already played 3 other places. And I guess played, you can use that word lightly, but he's already been at Georgia and at Louisville and at Tennessee, and now he's at Florida. So just making his way around the country, and he'd be who you'd lean on, I guess, first up if Lagway were to miss more time. So I guess it's a little bit concerning that he's not starting camp out physically ready to play right away, and just something to monitor. I could see why it definitely perked people's ears up and their eyebrows raised a little bit when they saw walking boot and not ready for start of camp and things like that. So yeah, it's certainly a situation to keep track of that could have big ramifications if it were to linger. I don't know that that's the expectation. It sounds like they're downplaying the severity of it being anything long-term. So that's good news. And I think if you're just a college football fan, you just want to see the best players play. I know I do. Rather than seeing the guy, all due respect to Harrison Bailey, who's on his 4th college football team already, I'd rather see DJ Lagway out there. So hopefully this is nothing major, and Florida will be at full strength, and Lord knows Billy Napier needs them to be. And Lord knows Florida football fans, not that it would probably be used as an excuse, but the last thing they want is Napier to be able to say, well, Lagway was hurt at the beginning of the year, even though I think they're far past him having any excuses left no matter what. But still, you want to be able to roll with your big guns, and he's certainly the biggest one they have.
Boo Carter, 3rd team preseason SEC defensive back, but also somebody that returns punts and did a good job for them. According to Josh Heupel, has not been dismissed for the team. Had an altercation with a teammate during the offseason. Apparently has not been with the team since mid-July, which, of course, is a couple of weeks ago. And he will not return to the field anytime soon. Pretty good player, but that's a note from Chris Lowe from ESPN that Boo Carter right now is a part of the program, but not working out as they begin their fall workouts.
It was speculated that he had been kicked off the team because he hadn't been there. But I guess Josh Heupel clipped that little rumor's wings because he hadn't been. But incident with a teammate, when you're missing workouts,
y'all saying teammates.
Yeah. When you're missing workouts, though, that it quite often means you go bye-bye. But I guess they're going to work it out there at Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, the stories say teammates had an issue. He was missing workouts, and clearly whatever led to that, there were problems in the locker room. And so I saw where apparently they tried to contact who his agent was listed as, and his agent's been ghosted because now apparently he and his mother have gone and said that they've hired another agent, but they haven't told the old agent. And now he was expected to be kicked off, but he's not kicked off. So it just sounds like I don't know that they're the most well-organized and well thought out team right now over there on Team Boo Carter. But good news is he gets to stick around. He's obviously a good enough player for them to want to keep him around rather than just saying, let's move on. And so we'll see if this becomes any greater of a distraction. But it was big to have him back this year, and their secondary is expected to be pretty good. Not the only guy who's had his dust up or with teammates or problems, I guess, getting along with guys. But, yeah, it sounds like he's not just going to be able to roll back in and act like nothing. I mean, he's going to have to get with the program, or else maybe they do decide one day to just say, screw this isn't worth the effort at this point. But right now they are, so hopefully he makes the most of this opportunity. But just seeing the agent part, not that that's big of a deal, but like when you won't even just tell your old agent that you've moved on and hired a guy, like that's just a mark against you, in my opinion. And so there's better ways to handle business.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough to kind of keep track with what's going on and who's doing this and that, but be responsible when it comes to that. The agent probably got you a pretty good deal, and then all of a sudden he doesn't even know how to get in touch with you. That's as shady as hell.
They say it's not NIL related, so it's not one of those situations where he's just asking for more money. It's a teammate complaint as much as anything. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
And I'm glad you caught that, teammates. So we're not talking about like one. We're talking about what could be two or multiple. With a bad day he obviously had and was has not been a part of the program since 2 weeks ago. Couple of facility notes. Houston opening up their new football complex with different views inside and out. This is just part of what they did. Good for Willie Fritz and the football program as they're able to walk in. We discussed the NIL, the house settlement, the revenue sharing. If you didn't have some of your facilities locked in and pretty much completed or at least paid for the most part, it's going to be hard to kind of get some of that money to do that. Some will, but there's Houston. Congratulations to them. And
a ton of them have been backburnered. And if you remember, Willie Fritz talked about, he said, I'm going to have to be kicking guys out of steam rooms and hot tubs and all that because it's just too nice.
And then this one here, and then we talk about it a little bit. KU, we had Lance Leipold on the show during Big 12 Media Days, as we did Willie Fritz. And then it's getting real, packed the Booth Stadium, which has been renovated over the last, in some cases, rebuilt over the last couple of years. And there are pictures that they are ready to go. That's a beautiful blue. That's a very pretty blue.
Yeah, we've talked quite a bit about Kansas's project and what upgrades they've been in the process of adding. And so I think that all looks great, and it is really sharp, just all that blue and green and that blue sky. So that'll be a beautiful place this fall to go and watch a game there in Lawrence. And you see Cincinnati with their really impressive new facilities out there as well. And Houston, now you mentioned today, I'd seen the little teaser, but I've not been able to check out. I'm sure they put a video out, right, of a tour.
Yeah, I got a video.
Okay, yeah. So I just haven't seen that yet. I'll watch that in a commercial break or later on tonight. But just based off those pictures, like the art, like the kind of theme and flavor they have there. So there were expectations when schools like Houston and Cincinnati joined the league that they would need to upgrade some things. And I think that's just natural for programs anyways. But you have the need to do it, and then also an extra need to do it because now it's part of probably your guarantee of joining a league. And so good to see them moving along with these projects and freshening things up. And just trying to make their programs as good as they possibly can be. Texas Tech stole a lot of the offseason headlines when it came to reconstruction and building new things out. But, Houston's been busy. Cincy's been busy. Kansas has been busy, so on and so forth. So good to see everybody just keeping up with the Joneses as best as possible. It's the name of the game.
All right, so I just saw this. This is not something I did. T-King 701 put this out earlier, and here is his thoughts about all what's going on with the NIL and money. This was hilarious. Congrats on your 5-star recruits at $100 million facilities, SEC fans. Meanwhile, the MAC is out here playing real football in front of 14 people in a raccoon on a Tuesday night during a blizzard. You ever seen a punter throw a touchdown to a long snapper while the scoreboard's on fire? Didn't think so. While y'all are busy arguing over which Fret-funded dynasty is slightly less fraudulent, Toledo's cooking up a triple reverse flea flicker in a game that ends 43-42 after 6 missed extra points and a goalpost gets stolen. That's not football. That's Maction. You wouldn't survive one quarter in Ypsilanti.
I love it. That's brilliant writing.
I have no idea. I looked him up. I couldn't find him. I have no idea. He might be an SEC fan, but that was a great comment.
Garrett and I are prolific readers. If that guy wrote a book, we'd each get a copy.
Yeah, I definitely check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I like Fret-funded dynasty because that's like such a bullseye that I don't even think people are aware of how much of a bullseye that is. That's right in the freaking dead center heartbeat of college football. Fret-funded dynasties. Yeah, I like the way that he put that.
And then Greg Sankey. Paul has compared him to a dictator. Craig is, what was your name for Greg Sankey, Craig?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I think he's a great commissioner, and the SEC's Greg Snakey was one for a while.
Oh, that's why that's why we didn't get credentialed for SEC Media Days.
I called him Kim Jong Sankey.
Yeah, you called him that. I didn't call him that. Snakey was the more one. I thought about doing a dance called the Sankey leg, but I never got around to really cooking that up all the way. But that would have been more of homage, not so much a diss. Snakey definitely is, though. But that's how he was moving.
Yeah,
he was slithering around all last summer and acting like he wasn't, even though it was clear as day that was what was going on. So that's where that came from. But I'm sure that contributed to our denial of SEC credentials, even though we tried last summer. We didn't try this time around, right? Like, we didn't even apply.
No.
Yeah, and that would have been a pretty quick turnaround.
I would like to have been
there.
I'd still like to be there, but no.
Yeah, but that would have been a pretty busy few set of days. But yeah, I mean that's good news. I obviously am having fun with it, and I don't know that I trust him with the future of college football in his hands all the way, but I don't trust Petiti either. I don't really trust anybody at this point, quite frankly. They're all just puppets for TV executives, but I think that him being in good health is a good thing, just like Deion Sanders yesterday. So, yeah, good for Greg Sankey that everything's all good.
That's what I brought it up, too, because of what Deion said. Make sure you get checked. And this was Greg Sankey. I started reading this. I said, he's not making light of this. No, he's not. He had a colonoscopy. For those who have this is the best part. For those who have encouraged me to put things where the sun does not shine, you get your wish today. Take care of your health.
Yeah, he's a funny guy if you listen to him. It's just that I think when you're not in his league, it's just the rest of it's so overbearing and kind of you just don't have any power to really do anything about it. So it's just frustrating to watch him sometimes just tell you what the truth is. But, I mean, I appreciate the truth rather than trying to pretend that he's doing what's best for college football. And ultimately, he's doing what's best for the SEC. And once you realize that, the more you can kind of accept who he is. And I've heard him before. He was a guy who was in Dallas for a long time because of the other conference he worked for.
Southland Conference for one.
I think it was the Southland maybe. And he listened to the Ticket up there. And if you know the Ticket, like that's the sports station that barely talks about sports basically. And it's pretty much like one of the forefathers, I think, of kind of like modern, like I don't think Barstool exists without the Ticket, like almost in a way, like those early seeds that were planted. But the fact that he listened to them when he was living in the Dallas area lets me know he has a sense of humor. Yeah. And this shows you he's got a sense of humor. And I'm sure he's a swell guy if you know him. But yeah, when it comes to being in a non-SEC league, he is a bit of a villain right now. And we'll see how it plays out. Maybe he's the hero in the end. But for right now, he's the guy trying to scoop up playoff spots and, basically take as much territory as possible. But I don't wish ill will on him. So good for him to have a little fun with what is something that everybody looks to avoid if at all possible. But we all have to end up doing at some point if we're smart about our health.
He has made a couple of comments during the offseason, and some that have, frustrated people, angered people, whatever. But he's also shown a couple of different occasions that he does have that, as you mentioned. That's why I put it up there. We've hammered away at the SEC and also Sankey, or the way that things are. And I enjoyed that today, reading that from him. So we just mentioned media days. I didn't realize this. We had a hellacious couple of days covering the Big 12 media days in Frisco. There's an article, Chris Vanini wrote the article about the biggest issue with media days is that college football's offseason isn't about football anymore. It's been that way since COVID, pandemic, conference realignment, transfers, playoff expansion, and now politics have been the most pressing topics. I don't think that we discussed some of that, of course, in Frisco, but I get what he's saying is that it used to just be where everybody talked football. It was kind of fun, but it apparently the national media who's been to numerous media days, they don't see it as quite the same thing.
Well, it's not. I mean, and the thing is that, it's a constant, we talk about it all off season here about it's just a constant, back and forth of what's going to happen. Who's going to how much money is this conference going to make? How much conferences money is that conference going to make? It's hard for me to even remember what it was like before, when you were just what's going to happen when Ohio State plays LSU in this bowl game, if that's going to happen? What's this game going to be like in the middle of the year? And that all changes once the season starts. But man, I mean, right now it's just because, the discussion has changed because they spend the whole offseason haggling about rules.
Well, here's a note,
regulation and all that stuff.
The number one thing most people were looking forward to going into Big 12, the Big 10 media days, was the commissioner talking about the playoff idea, his playoff idea, not about Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, USC, or others.
Well, that's also Tony Petit's fault because he didn't say anything for forever. And so the only time to get him to actually talk about something was at media days. So maybe if he talked a little bit more like Greg Sankey did, look, here I am defending Greg Sankey, but maybe if he did an interview or two that wasn't at media days, then we wouldn't feel the need to ask him for the first time about his opinion at media days. But yeah, I think it's a product of, how many, we weren't the very first show by any means, but I feel like we were one of the earlier ones. And how many, thousands of shows have popped up in the last 5 years? Literally hundreds have popped up in the last 5 years. And so there's just more discussion in general. And when you're trying to be unique or whatever, then I guess you're trying to find things to talk about. And unfortunately for college football, it is now turned into the offseason where they've spent the last 5 years trying to figure out how to change everything or fix everything. And that's all at their feet. That's not the media creating that. It's the fact that you spent an entire year talking about this house settlement only for it to not mean anything at the end of it. So all that was for nothing, basically. And maybe not nothing, literally, but pretty much it wasn't like the cure-all, end-all, be-all. So that was all a bunch of talk that amounted to, it's at this point very, very little. We'll see. I think between all the legislative crap going on, which I can't stand, and that's why you normally hear me just sit out most of that, because I don't get it and I don't really want to. But between that and then, all of the realignment, and then the teams that haven't moved, they want to move. So they're hoping and clinging to every little rumor imaginable that is true. And it's all about, I think all the conversations are ultimately about the same thing. It's where are we at the end of this thing, but nobody knows where the end of this thing is. So everybody's talking about how do we get to that end point all through the lawsuits and the realignment and the rules and who's in and who's out and where is everything. And yet we can't ever get there because they're all constantly still changing. Realignment last week, back on the, back out there. So now we don't know where does the ACC in 4 years. So that's not going away anytime soon. The legal thing's not going away anytime soon. The playoff, well, maybe we'll kick it back another. So they can't settle even on how to crown a champion. And so that's why it's all that conversation. And
part of it is that it feels to me like they deal and they could have just said had they in 2020 and 2021, when all these new rules came about, if they had sat down and really looked at a realistic of, okay, where can this go if we don't get a handle on it now and make some real changes, they could have already figured out, one transfer portal window and collective bargaining. And the fact that the calendar makes no damn sense. But
everything seemed to be just like I'm not saying everything was being given away during the 2020 or so, but New Year's, extra years.
Yeah.
Even if you played a full year, you got it back.
Well,
everything was they just did everything without any consequences.
Well, and
I'm thinking about the consequences.
I'm saying that's even the extra years thing, not even in this discussion so much right now as
a guy from Florida is about to play his 7th year, by the way.
But not so much in this discussion of, I remember asking Mac Rhodes when we had him on, earlier on up in the attic in my office in my house. And I said, shouldn't you use this time with all these things changing in all of this to really discuss, because they didn't have any damn games going on from April until mid-August or mid-September, really. They didn't have anything widespread going on. They could have sat down and said, okay, let's figure this out because we have some time to really look at it. And he said, well, shame on us if we don't. And they didn't. They approach every issue as it comes up, as opposed to trying to be anticipatory in things. So instead of anticipating hey, we've lost this case and this case, and it seems like the legal river is, the current is going this way, they've still tried to figure out a way to swim upriver like a salmon. And you're not. You've got to find a way to go with it. And that's why we're talking about this right now, because they don't.
Which is what the point of the story was, that we're talking about all of that and not about who the backup quarterback is or starting left tackle.
They don't anticipate things. They're in a scary movie, and they're like, let's run upstairs and open doors. No, that's where the guy's going to hit you with a chainsaw.
But we also don't have to talk about that stuff.
You're right. You're right. You're right. And there are times in which I just God almighty, do we need we have Ryan Mulvaney on tomorrow to discuss some things too, because it's there though. It's still affecting the game of college football.
I mean, it can be, but it's not doing it every single week. So I think that's if it's a point of interest is all the legal stuff. And I definitely have come across people where they find that, I think they're bigger fans of that than the games. I mean, really. And maybe it's just their lawyer backgrounds or whatever. So for those folks, they love it. But for somebody like me, I know where we need to talk about the playoff, and I know where we need to talk about this, but do I want to talk about it all the time? Absolutely not. It's exhausting. And so that's as much the fault of the media sometimes, and I get it. It's out of need. It's out of a need to fill time. It's out of a need to see if there's some interest in a topic or two by throwing it out there and seeing how people react to it. But we're not helping by constantly focusing on the transfer portal and focusing on the NIL battle and focusing on the playoff and they're topics for reasons, but I think we're equally guilty sometimes in driving them into the ground.
Yeah, but the transfer, you're right. I wish we could just talk about games. I know, Garrett, we need to take a break or players or whatever, but the transfer portal, NIL, and all of that affects sometimes what you can do as far as put your roster together and who you have or who you're going to lose or somebody else is going to steal from you. S. Michael DeHart ends that conversation with this. It's not about the Jimmies and Joes. It's about the profits and pros.
Yeah.
Very nice, buddy.
Now, yeah, it is.
When we come back, Adam Rittenberg, ESPN.com. We do appreciate your time. Please, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we would appreciate it if you do. This is 365 Sports.
Now at Bird Collision Ford, we're bringing you an offer that's as big as America. Employee pricing for everyone. You pay what they pay. That means you drive home a new Ford F-150, Bronco Sport, Expedition, Super Duty. From America, for America. Employee pricing for everyone at BK Ford. Looking to sell your vehicle? Get top dollar for yours today. Don't miss out. Employee pricing is available for a limited time. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Experience better at BK Ford.
I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live. Forever we'll be singing like, oh, I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
I found it entertaining yesterday. Adam Rittenberg from ESPN, article about the preseason polls and maybe things that were coming out of some of the media days. And we've had those of you who watch us, we've discussed the preseason polls and are they necessary? And TVs like to set up the games in late August, early September, et cetera. Adam joins us on 365 Sports. Adam, were you not taken aback, but I mean, there are people fierce about whether you should or shouldn't on those preseason polls, aren't there?
Yeah, there are, Smokey. Good to be with you. And yeah, I think that question is really polarizing. I wouldn't say that, there were 70% of people that agree with me or 70% that disagree. I think it's fairly split among people who think that they're part of the history of the game and they don't do a lot of damage. And like you said, help TV and help excitement for those early season games. And then others that maybe are more on my side of it, which are concerned about the perception that they bake in. And especially when you're dealing with a sport that has a selection committee and human beings that make the selections, that you can't expect those people to ignore those polls and ignore some of the chatter that those polls create. So, for example, last year, Florida State, I think, was preseason top 10. They ended up losing 10 games. And so, Georgia Tech beats them in that early game in Ireland. And we're all thinking, wow, great win. And it didn't turn out to be a great win. So, I would hope that they don't impact selections, but I've talked to enough coaches and others around the sport who are concerned that they do have outsized influence on how we think about teams and discuss teams and possibly even, slot those teams for initial college football playoff rankings, which really do matter.
Adam, the rankings are more outdated or useless now preseason wise than they've ever been because of roster turnover and all of the different things that happened. That was one of FSU's problems last year, was a gigantic roster turnover that they didn't really rebuild from. And people kind of went back to the old thing of like, well, if a team is good in year A, then in year B, they'll be good again, which is not the case in pro sports because of free agency, and their free agency has rules. That's why I think that they need to get rid of them, because they're less relevant than they've ever been.
Yeah, no doubt. There's just a lot of factors that go into projecting teams now, and the rosters are always changing, and new quarterbacks, and it's just really hard to size up who's going to be good. Going into a season without seeing things, and people say, well, could you have a poll after 3 weeks, 4 weeks? It might have to be till mid-season, because you have some really soft opening schedules, and other teams like Baylor, who's obviously challenging themselves, we think, tremendously going into the year. So I think it does take a little bit of time before you can assess whether a team is good or not.
And Adam, I guess that's kind of what the Big 12 thought. I guess just at least is trying to eliminate some of that perception, getting rid of that preseason poll and seeing, how it took a while for people to sort of latch on to Arizona State last year. Whereas if they had started off a little bit closer, then maybe you're in that top 25 a little bit earlier, and it sounds and looks different. But do you think that's kind of where the Big 12 was coming from as well in terms, or was that just like, hey, our media is embarrassing how bad they are at picking teams, we got to get rid of this thing?
Well, no, yeah. I mean, I don't think they care as much about the media being wrong, but yeah, it does impact. It colors the view of certain teams. And you bring up the Big 12, and a lot of my thought on this came from being at Big 12 Media Day and talking to guys like Matt Campbell and Chris Kleiman, who will be playing in Ireland in week 0, and both of them are concerned about what happens to the loser. As far as perception and ranking, Iowa State, I would imagine, will be. Kansas State's probably a fringe top 25 team, but they're both concerned about what happens to that loser. Do they fall out? And if they fall out, how hard will it be for them to get back in? I mean, that might be two really, really good teams, as you guys know, that play right away. And how damaging will that loss? They can't both win. One of them's going to lose. And is one of them going to fall out of the top 25? And how hard will it be for that team to regain some level of perception? Kansas State, for example, Iowa State has Iowa coming up, but Kansas State, I don't have their schedule in front of me. If they lose that game, how long will it take for them to be viewed as a good team again?
Yeah, there's no question about that. And it does seem like some conferences, if you do lose early, it does take longer to get back, maybe back in the race a little bit. Do you believe at all that there is an SEC-type bubble when it comes to the polls preseason or not?
Yeah, I think there's been an SEC bubble. I think there's been a Notre Dame bubble at times, and we've seen them struggle, even under Marcus Freeman, especially under Marcus Freeman, honestly, in early season games. They obviously turned out to be a really good team last year, but they've had their issues early on. Again, not to pick on one school, but since it's near you guys, I guess I will. How many times has Texas A&M been seen as a really good win or early in the year, or a really good loss? And then at the end of the year, they're sitting there at 7-5. They're an average football team. And there's a bunch of teams out there like that. So, that's a team that I think has been overvalued at times. I mean, you guys remember that opener? What was it, A&M and South Carolina a number of years?
Oh, yeah. Kenny Trill.
They were two bad teams, two average teams. Like, we just don't know. And not to pick on those teams, because they're just, two of many that we could pick and choose from over the years that didn't turn out to be as good as the preseason polls thought they would, because it's really, really hard to project how good these teams actually will be.
Adam Rittenberg, ESPN.com, with us today on 365 Sports.
Adam, do you think the coaches are worried because it does bury itself in the psyche a little bit, and you don't even know you're talking about it? One of the things I've heard on college football playoff discussions, let's just say Notre Dame was 7th in the country when they beat them. And you're like, well, but Notre Dame just lost 3 straight games. They never really were 7th in the country.
Yeah, it's not real. Yeah. We beat 4 top 10 teams. Well, how many of them are top 10 teams now? And I think this is something that I know Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, is very interested in, as someone who's still pro selection committee, of having teams be viewed much more in real time versus what they were at the time of X or Y. I think that's going to be, if we're going to continue with this system, especially if we go to a playoff model where the selection committee's picking even more teams to be included, how sophisticated will their view of those teams be? I think that's something that certainly if you're Brett Yormark or Jim Phillips, or if you're any of the commissioners of those other conferences outside of the Big Ten and SEC, you want to have as clear a view of your team and of those other contending teams as possible when those selections are made.
Adam, not to make too much out of media days, but Big Ten wrapping things up last week. We heard from Tony Petitti for what feels like kind of one of the only times, one of the first times in quite a while, and everybody else is now wrapped up theirs for the most part. Any impressions or thoughts in particular coming out of the Big Ten last week, and just kind of the whole media carousel that's been ongoing now for the past month?
Right. Well, yeah, I've covered the Big Ten for a long time, as you guys know, and I can't remember too many times where the league has been as united behind a plan as the coaches and administrators. Obviously, Tony leading the way. They are very much behind his playoff model, which doesn't seem to be overly popular around the rest of the country. But the Big Ten very much in lockstep and seeing the value of that system. Now, will they end up compromising? I guess we'll find out. Tony, I thought, when I asked him about this, even in my one-on-one with him, was very careful not to say, hey, the SEC must do this. We need to all play the same amount of conference games. One of the reasons he was pushing this model was that he doesn't believe that if it was in place, rather, he doesn't think it matters how many conference games you play, because everybody in those two leagues will be playing for the top 4 spots. So if you want to play 8 conference games or 9 conference games or 6 conference games, do whatever you want. But at least this will be clear and take the selections out of the committee's hands for the most part in the Big Ten and SEC. So again, I think where it goes, I think staying at 12 teams is very much a possibility, unless the SEC is willing to budge one way or the other.
Wasn't it a little bit, I guess I kind of liked it that the SEC and the Big Ten disagree on something, because it seemed like they were just going to gobble up America and move on with it. So it's kind of nice to see a little bit of friction between them, isn't it?
Well, it's so funny, Smokey, and I mean, you've been around just like I have. These leagues used to really battle it out, and we're not on the same page, and we're truly rivals. Until Tony Petitti, I think, got the job and built this synergy with Greg Sankey. They started meeting as groups of administrators and presidents, and my interview with Tony was cut short a little bit because he got a call from Greg Sankey. So they're still very much in communication, even though they clearly don't agree right now on what the future playoff model should be. But it's just ironic, as you're right in saying that. But historically, they haven't agreed on that many things. There hasn't been this much collaboration between these two conferences, but a big part of it is in the post-expansion world. Everybody knows that the power in the sport is consolidated in the SEC and Big Ten.
Adam, what would be so terrible about those two leagues, including the ACC and Big 12, in those plans for scheduling, if it balanced this out and everybody could agree to say 8? Jim Phillips had the dumbest explanation as to why they stay at 8, because they have 17 teams, to which, as long as they have 10 teams in the league, they can play 9 games.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time following that. I think, my thing on scheduling, and I didn't talk about it on this show before, guys, what's best for the fans? And what's best for the fans is more conference games and more notable non-conference games. What's best for the fans is a schedule like what Baylor has this year. That serves the fans of Baylor. It serves the fans of Auburn and SMU and all those teams that get to see meaningful games. We have a sport that is by most accounts second most popular sport in the country. It's a really short season, and there's a lot of wasted weekends. And it's a shame that continues to be the norm, and if it continues to be accepted, because it's not serving the fans as well as it could be. What drives me crazy, and I've kind of given up because I've been doing this over the years, are the SEC fans who support an 8-game conference schedule. Why support something that literally doesn't serve you, that's making you waste your money if you're an SEC season ticket holder to see games that largely aren't competitive? Like, is that why you're a sports fan? Is that why you're a fan of Team X in the SEC? I'll never, ever understand that. So, again, it was interesting that Tony did not push the uniformity in scheduling, but I'll tell you this, guys, the coaches in the Big Ten are very much in favor of that, maybe even more so than the model of having all of these guaranteed spots for Big Ten teams.
I had not heard it explained the way you just did, Adam, which is brilliant. Why would an SEC fan, unless they're just, man, we don't want to have that possible loss and not get to a bowl game of the playoff, why would you not have or want to have a game, whether you're on the road against Georgia, home against LSU, or something like that? That's a great, I never heard that point.
Right. I mean, and again, I respect the rivalries with the ACC and understand the history of those games, but are some of those games, you're playing them annually, more important than the gaps that we see between SEC teams? I mean, my thing with the league is, if you're going to go 8-10 years without playing someone in your league, there's no point in being in the league. Like that's why you have a league, is to have the intimacy of, we know we're going to be playing each other either every year or every 2 or 3 years. Otherwise, I don't see a point other than we're all making money together. So, it's one of these things that I've never understood if you're a fan of a sport, NFL fans don't have to worry about that. Pro sports fans don't have to worry about that. In college, we get in our heads about, well, if we play more games, we may not be bowl eligible, or if we play more games, we might fall short of the playoff. Instead of, if we play more games, it's going to be more entertaining week to week, and there'll be more excitement with a season that really does fly by.
Adam Rittenberg, last thing, Dion yesterday, the press conference after some health scares, obviously much more than some people realized, and the news that he had his bladder removed, cancer for now it appears is gone, and well, you never know with that, but hopefully that's the case in the fact that he's back, and it was just nice to see him, to me, in my opinion.
No doubt, and I'm glad he's on track to coach. I'm glad that these initial issues at least appear to be behind him. It's certainly something that will continue to be monitored because he's had so many health problems really in the last 5 or 6 years. But I think it's good for college football, guys, to have Dion on the sideline. It's certainly good for Colorado. I'll be at their first game against Georgia Tech. I'm excited to see him. And, a lot of people thought he would be 1 and out, 2 and out. Well, here he is, despite all of these health issues, despite no longer having his son or Travis Hunter on the team. He wants to do this and doesn't have to do this, doesn't really need the money, but he wants to continue doing this. And I think that's a great thing for the sport.
Adam, thank you very much. We're not too far away. Workouts are beginning, games before we know it with K-State, Iowa State. And the next thing you know, well, we'll have that preseason AP and coaches poll out here pretty soon. Thanks for your time, Adam. Have a great week.
Yeah, I look forward to debating it with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. That's Adam Rittenberg, ESPN.com. Here's a note from Go Black 45. It has to be an LSU fan. GEAUX. Bama, Tennessee, and Georgia, Auburn is keeping teams from not playing for 6 to 8 years. We've discussed how A&M and Georgia's they've played once, and they've never played in College Station. But there are some built-in rivalries other than your tradition, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, Florida State, and whatever else that have perhaps also been ingrained in the scheduling in the SEC, unlike what the Big 12 did. They were too dumb. And maybe that keeps the possibility of other games being played. You can still stick that in the algorithm and spit out a schedule, though, can't you?
That's what I was. Look, I'm not a mathematician, a computer guy. The word algorithm scares me to death. But I would think that you could just build in more of those protected rivalries and then rotate through the other 4 or 5 games, whatever you schedule, whatever you decide. For example, Texas's rivalry should be A&M, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Those should be the 3 that they play every year. And some teams may have 4, so you may have to bake in a 4th one, but I still think you could rotate it through faster because I don't think people need it. Like if you did 1 on 1 off, I think it would work out better, but what do I know?
So where did you get this from? Maybe it's affecting the scheduling.
It's from Go Black 45 in the chat.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's a maybe. It either is or it isn't.
Yeah.
He said is keeping teams.
You
from
said
not,
maybe. It clearly must be if you're not having Georgia A&M having completed a home and home in 15 years. So yeah, I think that's part of the problem. And I don't think there's a scenario where you need 4 protected teams. 4? Like that's half your conference schedule's protected games. So
as the conferences get bigger, larger, and more teams, some of what you have had for all your life has to kind of sometimes be given up.
I mean, yeah, like it's like Texas, Arkansas is a great. Is it Texas, Oklahoma? No. Is it A&M? Texas A&M? Absolutely not. So if Arkansas, Texas is preventing Texas from having completed a home and home against Florida, and I know that's not a good example,
because they're playing.
If they're not playing for 15 years or South Carolina or whoever because of Texas, Arkansas, I think maybe you have to get rid of some of the protection and whittle it down to more like 2, if that's the case. But yeah, you're probably right that trying to keep some of the tradition is preventing some of the branching out and covering all your bases. And I just think the whole Texas A&M Georgia example is just it's silly at this point.
What's also hurting it is the fact that they play 1 less conference game a year.
Well, that doesn't help.
And if you threw that 9th game in there, then you would not be so far off of that.
Yeah.
So you could have, if you threw a 9th game in there, you could have your 3 protected rivalries, because now you have the extra game to protect that, and then the other 6 games can rotate through the other 15 teams in the league.
Are there other
12,
and I don't know this enough about the SEC. Go Black, by the way, thanks for the note. It's the dates is what Go Black just responded. It's the dates of Bama, Tennessee. Has to be the 3rd Saturday in October forever for some reason. So that's a fly in the ointment.
Texas OU is always the
around the state right? Around the state fair,
around the state fair, but it's moved from the 1st or the 2nd or whatever, depending on I guess is it a leap year? Is what's the calendar say on the fair? Whatever, I don't know.
Well, but it's interesting. I never even thought about that part about why sometimes it would be an issue as far as the specific dates. But Go Black 45, we appreciate your input on the topic. It is a very interesting note that we got from you. Thank you.
But go to 9 games, and I bet you a lot of these problems that are specific dates, haven't played this team in a long time, we have 3 protected rivals, all those things. I think a lot of those things become easier to solve, and you get those playing closer to each other than 15 years apart because you've added another game. So, and again, I don't know algorithms, but I do know that 9 is more than 8, and when you add another thing into the mix, that's more.
Tennessee, Alabama is traditionally called the 3rd Saturday in October because the game was historically scheduled on that specific date for the SEC split when they went into divisions in 1992. The tradition persists. Recent scheduling has seen the game played on other Saturdays, though it retains its nickname. So they have moved the date occasionally.
So we're holding a tradition that started in 1992 when Batman Returns came out.
Well, they're not even holding it. They're still just calling it the same thing. He just said they're moving the game. It's
they
not
have
on
moved
the
it
same
around
date,
a little bit. So it's just something I didn't know. But I didn't know about the history. I knew certain times games had to be played on certain weeks, whatever. I get that. Okay, coming up next, 4 o'clock hour, Shahan Raja, CBS Sports, and more. This is 365 Sports. Coming up, it is August the 28th, 11:30 until 1. It's the day before Baylor will host Auburn on Friday night at McLean Stadium. It is the Lunch with the Legend. Former Baylor quarterback Nick Florence will be the guest speaker. You can register online to be at the event all the way up until a couple of days before the event. And it's August 28th. It's a Thursday, 11:30 to 1. Something about Nick Florence. He now works as a part of, I think, the assistant vice president, the principal gifts at Baylor. He's the one. Now, think about this. Back in RG3's Heisman Trophy year, in 2011, he got hit in the head, concussed, couldn't play the second half. Nick Florence came in, played the second half, and he didn't get that extra year or that COVID year or the whatever extra years. That's one of his unbelievable parts of his career. He's the guest speaker. He also led Baylor eventually to one heck of a year, beating number 1 Kansas State the following year to close out with a bowl game win against UCLA. That's Nick Florence. He'll be the guest speaker. Thursday, August 28th, the Baylor Alumni and Fan Engagement Lunch with a Legend.
Allen Samuels in Waco, your Central Texas commercial headquarters. Get a new Ram 2500 Crew Cab starting at just $43,990. Don't miss the savings during the Make This the Summer event. Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Shahad Jararaja, CBS Sports, with us on 365 Sports. I was kind of going through your timeline. I like to do that right before a segment just to make sure that there's nothing new that I didn't see earlier. And, you're talking about the Heisman Trophy and how someone was struggling with that. Do you have any idea right now? Like last year, there were probably 3 to 4 names. Do you have a clue who you would vote for or you think you're going to vote for in 3 or 4 months?
It's such a tough year, right? Because you look at some of the top teams in the country and there aren't obvious contenders. And the other piece of it too is that a lot of sort of the top names and top returning players in college football are on teams with other of the top players in college football. So I think about somebody like Nick Singleton at Penn State, and it's like, well, okay, he's a great player. Is he going to split carries with Katron Allen? Is he going to lose touches to Drew Aller? Like, it's a really, really tough year. I think also about like Jeremiah Smith, who probably is the best player in college football in 2025. But by the way, Carnell Tate is potentially a first-round draft pick. They've got great receivers. Does Julian Sayin get the majority of the credit at quarterback? So this is as tough a year as I can remember to try to project who's going to win the Heisman Trophy. If I had to pick right now, and if I wanted to be a little bold about it, I'm really excited about what LSU has a chance to be this year. I might lean Garrett Nussmeier as my preseason pick, but one thing that I think really works against him is look at the last 2 LSU guys who won the Heisman Trophy. It was Jaden Daniels, who put together a fantastic statistical season, and it's Joe Burrow, who arguably had the greatest passing season for a quarterback in history. So that's kind of the bar to win it, I think, if you're at LSU. And even, by the way, if they go and win the SEC, that might not be enough to get it done.
Do you do the exercise of why do I even have to think about this now, or do you have to write about it?
Because I'm annoying as hell for asking the question is why.
Yeah.
No, I mean, well, first of all, yes, I do have to write about it. We will get asked about it. We'll have to put our picks on the record over at cbssports.com. But I love this stuff. Like, I love getting to talk about football and look forward a little bit. And, I know that there's this conversation about, like, all the preseason projection stuff and AP poll. Like, for me, I love it. This is college football conversation. This is what it's all about. And also, this is the moment where you get to have a little fun with it, right? Like, this is the last moment maybe that we get to think about Lenora Sellers of South Carolina as a serious national Heisman contender. This might be some of the last moments that we get to think about, some of these other teams as potentially being in that conversation. So I love getting to kind of spread things out and have these conversations, and especially in a year where you don't just have an obvious guy or two rising to the top. It's even more reason to mention as many guys as we can.
So Shahan, we were just talking to Adam Rittenberg, and he's like become anti-preseason poll because it kind of puts people in place. So I assume you're not that. You like the pre. I mean, I like it to a degree. I just don't like that it does sometime. I mean, I don't have a better alternative. I don't want to just like banish everything that I don't think is perfect. But do you have concerns that sometimes it can set the table, and it takes an Arizona State an entire year to be able to gain the respect by the end, as opposed to had they started off closer to a poll at the very beginning?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think that let's talk about Arizona State specifically, right? They were picked 16th in the Big 12 last year. It took them a very long time to get into the AP Top 25. But let's just say that there's no poll until midway through the season. Here's the reality. They were a 3-9 team heading into 2024. And on top of that, everybody wants to talk about the preseason rankings being a reason that they didn't get in. It's because they lost to Cincinnati in October. Like, that's why it took them so long to get into the poll. And I pushed back personally against the idea. And that, well, let me say this. Yes, there is no question that preseason polls can impact the way that people see teams. But I think it kind of works both directions. For example, this upcoming year, we've got a game, Alabama versus Florida State. Two huge brands, two teams who have won national championships, been on that stage in the past 10 or 15 years. And so, like, if you're a casual fan, you're looking at that game and you're like, wow, that must be an incredible game. Alabama playing Florida State. Well, it's actually not a good game at all, because Florida State is completely rebuilding and Alabama isn't Nick Saban's Alabama. Now compare that, for example, to a week 0 matchup, Kansas State versus Iowa State. Two teams that will be in the top 15 or 20 who aren't necessarily brands that casual fans would think about as being nationally relevant. Well, because of the preseason rankings, people are going to notice, oh, that's number 14 versus number 17. This is a game that has huge national implications and huge Big 12 implications as well. Oh, I didn't realize that. I just saw these two brand names that I didn't really think much about and tossed it to the side. So I think that there's this idea that if we didn't have a preseason AP poll, then it would mean, oh, well, everybody would just come into the season being like, oh, well, let me see what happens. Let me think really deeply about all 136 FBS teams, when in reality what would happen is that they just gravitate towards the same 8 teams or so whose logos that they recognize most. So I actually think that the preseason polls are really good and in many cases important. And all of this said, I don't want to spoil a piece that I'm working on for later this year too much.
Oh, well, okay.
Okay. But look, when Tommy Castellanos goes 300, 150 on Alabama and they beat them.
I was waiting for it.
In double overtime, and then later on they play again in the playoff. You'll eat those words, Jay Roger. You will. You're right, though. I mean, like 4 years ago when they scheduled that game, everybody's like, oh, hot damn. Like, there we go. And then it just doesn't. I think, though, a lot of that goes into you've got to bake into the rules of the selection committee that if you say a team was like they were number 5 in the country when this team that we're considering going to the playoff beat them, they're like, are they number 5 now? Then that number 5 didn't matter. Well, they have to bake that in.
But that is 100% what the committee does. They reevaluate every single week. And on top, and I know that this is like talk. I've been in the mock selection committee twice, right? Like I see how they do their process, and they don't, for example, bake that in. One where I think, like, again, now I wish that they had treated this a little differently, but like a game that was right in my backyard that we've referred to all off season that ended up being huge was Baylor or BYU versus SMU, right? Like that was a huge college football game. And so whenever they update the rankings, whenever they put in new information, like they're looking at SMU and BYU schedules and seeing this was a match between a team that's rated this much, or this was a team that we had ranked here. You know, that they are able to see it dynamically move in real time as they go week to week. So again, I think that there's also this idea that like the committee is thinking too much about what the rankings were in week 2. And I just don't really think that's the case. Their first rankings to actually select the playoffs doesn't come out till November. And I mean, again, like you think about some of the teams that come in and lose right away, you know, Michigan last year being another example of that. Like, I don't think that the committee was sitting there thinking, well, Michigan was ranked number 9 in the preseason poll, so we got to treat them as a really good team. They're going into November thinking, okay, well, now we have all of this information. So the reality is, again, this is an entertainment product, and I think that when I view the polls, like I don't view them because I don't think that it matters that much to the committee what's happening in the preseason and early season in terms of the rankings. What it actually is a way for us to gain context, both as casual fans, but also from a historical perspective. It's a big, like, for example, we have that game last year where Florida State, you know, they're ranked number, sorry to keep ragging on Florida State, but to, you know, where they're ranked in the top 10 and they lose that early season game, right? So like that helps color a lot of different things. It's a historic victory for Boston College, and it's a historic victory for Georgia Tech. It's also context that tells us, hey, here's how Florida State was valued coming into the year. Because imagine if we didn't have any true historical context of what happened to Michigan or what happened to Florida State, or if we didn't have historical context of, man, Arizona State was expected to be really bad and they end up winning the league. Like, that's important context, not just when you're evaluating this season, but also when you look back at history in 10 or 15 years.
Shahan, do you have a vote in the top 25?
I do not.
Okay. I was wondering, I don't either, and none of us do. But I was wondering if even if you feel the way you do or we do about not looking at perhaps the brand names of the logos or whatever, how hard would that be? Would it be more difficult? And are we not giving those who vote enough credit?
I absolutely think so. And, you know, a couple things I'll tell you, right? One, I was having a conversation with an AP poll voter the other day, and, you know, somebody who covers the team specifically, and he was telling me, man, like, the thing about being an AP poll voter and covering a team full time is that on Saturdays, like, I am mainly focused on an individual team. You know, when you're actually in a press box every single week and when you're actually on location, I mean, again, yeah, you're mostly catching up on box scores. It's kind of an impossible job in some ways for people who are so on the ground. Now, you know, my pitch would be, hey, you know, somebody like me who's watching every single game every week, I think I probably should have an AP vote, but that's a whole other conversation. But the other piece of it too is that, especially at this moment, like, everybody wants to complain about the AP voters not knowing enough about everybody. But like, nobody does. Everybody thinks that there's like this magic inside information that like people should know or people should get. And like, the reality is, a lot of how these preseason rankings are put together is based off of projection, and everybody has different criteria for how they project teams. I've spoken about it on this program before. I really value things like returning production, quarterback play, returning coaches. There are other voters, for example, who might err towards the most talented rosters. You know, just in terms of being able to project forward, they'll lean on stuff like the SP Plus preseason analytical rankings or FEI. And these are all pretty legitimate ways to do this that sometimes work and sometimes don't work at all. So there's not really a science to how you should approach this. And so I think when people kind of look and say, to make a comparison, right? Like, I put out the list of Big 12 coaches last week. Everybody thinks their guy is underrated, but ultimately somebody has to be on the list.
Yeah, you need to keep those, save the responses. Do any coaches contact you or the SIDs? Who is it?
Thankfully, I don't get much from the coaches or like the programs themselves too much. It's mostly the fans, because I mean, here's the reality, right?
Sure.
So, whenever I put together the Big 12 rankings, people, especially Oklahoma State fans, are not happy about it because I think Mike Gundy, and by the way, this is a vote of our entire staff. This isn't just me unilaterally doing this, but I believe Mike Gundy was 8th on the list, and they had a real issue with the big gap between Mike Gundy and Kyle Whittingham, who both are obviously coming off of struggling seasons. And here's the thing, right? Like, again, when you look at their resume as a whole, when you look at 20 years of data, I think that Mike Gundy is the most accomplished coach in the Big 12, including Kyle Whittingham and everybody else. But that's not really what you're judging in this moment. And that's sort of the big thing with all these sorts of rankings. And people love rankings. I mean, obviously the numbers bear it out, but
Sure.
Criteria is such a big part of putting together any rankings, and everybody's criteria is going to be a little bit different.
Do you, when you do those things, I mean, part of it is people only read the headlines or they see the graphic and they're like, okay, these are the coaches. And look, if you were rating all time, there'd be a lot of guys who are doing really well right now who'd be at the bottom because they're young coaches. They have they're puppies compared to what Gundy and Whittingham are, who would be right at the top. But when you're talking about right now in this moment, who is dominating it, everybody has ebbs and flows in their careers. I think that's probably the thing you have to deal with most, because if you see Oklahoma State, and believe me, they're, I would say, the second most angry fan base when it comes to criticizing their team in the Big 12 after Utah. It's Utah and then them, and they just go. So, but Mike Gundy right now, he's probably the 8th best coach in the league the way things are going.
No, and that's the thing, right? You have to weigh everything. And, to have the conversation, right? I think I'm jumping on with some Oklahoma State radio folks tomorrow, so I'm sure I'll hear about this. But, it's interesting, right? Because you look at Mike Gundy versus Kyle Whittingham. Yeah, you see two coaches coming off of disappointing seasons. And I think that when you think about it existentially, though, and in this moment, you're not asking who would you have wanted in 2015? It's also who's adjusted better to this new era. And I think that even though Utah obviously has had a very disappointing last 2 years, I think that the way that they've done their process and built their roster has still been kind of the right way to approach things. They've been derailed by injuries, especially at that quarterback position. The thing that's a big question mark to me, and the thing that I think that Mike Gundy can prove this year, is they're completely starting over this year. They've got 9 new assistant coaches. They've got 70 new players on their roster. They have essentially 0 consistent returning production at this point. They lost 3 or 4 guys who are in the NFL now, and also 1 or 2 of their best other players to the transfer portal. They are truly starting from 0 right now. That's not where Utah is, just realistically, because they've built up over the course of multiple years. So I will say, too, when it comes to other voters in our coach rankings, I do feel like there are some people who are a little too reactive, who just look at, maybe 1 or 2 years and kind of, move too far in one direction or the other. I like being a little bit more steady with it. I like trying to look a little more at the totality and not just trying to judge the now, but also to project ahead. Because I think of a coach like Joey McGuire, who was number 48 overall out of 68 coaches in our rankings, which I think is crazy low. In a year from now, after they win 9 or 10 games, people are going to be like, well, he's actually number 26. And it's so predictable that happens because people are kind of looking in this one moment. But that's where it goes back to that idea of criteria, and everybody's is different.
One of the things that somebody brought up, Wet Blanket, who's a big Oklahoma State fan, is Gundy actually won Big 12 Coach of the Year just 2 years ago. In 23, Texas smoked him in that game. But he, you think about him as, his success was a long time ago, played in the Big 12 championship game in 21, played again in 23. But I think a lot of people are looking at the way he's handled the transfer portal or whatever else, and all that other stuff gets erased, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think that, obviously, you never want to, try to poke holes in a 10-win season, right? But it's also I think that the conference has changed so much. The sport has changed so much. I look back at that 2023 team, and from an advanced analytic perspective, they were rated somewhere in the 30s, right? They were a team that was very fortunate to obviously get the wins they did. And look, I've said it many times, like wins and losses are a very key way to measure coaches. It's also only one way of many. There are years where a coach goes 7-5 and it's encouraging, and there are years where a coach goes 9-3 and it's concerning. Like that's just the reality of trying to evaluate a program as a whole. And I look back at that year, especially the way that they kind of handled that last stretch of the season, getting blown out a couple of times. I mean, again, like you sort of, I think that it kind of puts a damper a little bit on what that season was because of the road that they had and because of what happened after. So again, I'll be fascinated to kind of see what Oklahoma State is able to come up with this year, because this is a really big year for this program.
Who among Utah and Oklahoma State, is it a pretty safe bet that Utah, if you ask 20 people, 18 would say they would be bouncing back this year and not Oklahoma State, or better than Oklahoma State?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Vegas, I think it's a little rich, but Utah is the preseason favorite in the Big 12 in a lot of places. I would not have them as high as that, but I would have them probably in the 6 or 7 range. Whenever my colleagues over at 247 Sports put together their own preseason poll of the 16 team sites, I believe that Utah was 6 and Oklahoma State was 13, I want to say, right? So like there is a gap in perception between these two teams, even though both are coming off of similarly disappointing years. And I think, again, when you talk about the returning production and lack thereof at Oklahoma State, that's a big part of the equation.
Shahan, great stuff. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. We always appreciate you being available when you are on Tuesdays. It's a great segment with you. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
Shahan Jararaja, CBS Sports, with us on 365 Sports. And Wet Blanket, thanks for bringing that up. I didn't realize that. In 23, I would have thought Sark was the Big 12 Coach of the Year. And, of course, there's like a couple of different teams. But he won it in 21. I would have thought it was Aranda. And then 23, Sark. But those votes are before the championship game. Just like postseason awards, and what you do in the postseason doesn't count towards MVP, Cy Young, etc., or even the Heisman Trophy either. So there we are, Shahan Jararaja. Around the corner, boy, there are some people back and forth on Tennessee. General Ursus, of course, a great fan of ours, a viewer. He's a Tennessee fan. So let's look at Tennessee's football schedule. Craig's off the radar. Also today, we'll have John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, at about 5:30. This is 365 Sports.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget, from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560, or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
365 Sports, and we are closing it all down after this week. We have looked at the Big 12 and the Big 10 and the SEC. Of course, we're closing that out. ACC done. Craig Smoak with vacation next week. We have 4 days and 4 teams, and Tennessee, the Volunteers, are on the clock.
Yes, they are. So let's get to the Tennessee Vols, and looking at last year just quite briefly, 10-3 overall, the 3rd SEC team to make the playoff, and making the playoff just for anybody, especially when it was 4, it was very exclusive. It still feels very exclusive. I wonder, 10 years from now, how much playoff berths are still factored in the same way as All-Americans or national titles or things like that. But for Tennessee, a big, big deal to win 10 games, to get into the playoff, 6-2 in league play, and had a really, really good year. Just the loss to Arkansas there early in the season, lost to Georgia, and then the loss to Ohio State there in the playoff, which was an ugly blemish on what was otherwise a really solid year. But that Ohio State game, that got very, very sideways. So that's when we last saw Tennessee, was falling in Columbus. And now we thought we were going to see an offseason where it was just a lot of hype and buildup, and the Nico Iamaleava situation pops up. And that obviously threw a bit of a curveball this offseason. But they've recalibrated, and Joey Aguilar is the guy you're pinning a lot of hopes on. They lost some talented players to the draft, like a James Pierce, but not they had 4 draft picks. It wasn't like they had a bunch of 10, 12 like Georgia or Texas or Ohio State.
I would say one big one on offense would be Dylan Sampson that they lost.
Dylan Sampson, yes.
Yeah, but they lost some guys to the transfer portal, but Squirrel White was hurt all year last year, so he didn't really help them anyway. So they won games without him. So even though he's hopefully a good player because he went up at FSU, but you were in the playoff without him for most of the year. So
yeah, so they've had some ups and downs, and now here they are. And how will they start things off? Well, with a very interesting non-conference game against Fran Brown and the Syracuse Orange on Saturday, August the 30th. It'll be the Aflac kickoff game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. So Tennessee and Syracuse in Atlanta to start off the year on August the 30th. And looking at this graphic again, I'm going to apply this to next year. God willing, we get an opportunity to do this next year, but that's a nice looking graphic. I like that. I think orange and white is pretty cool. I didn't always love the color orange, probably because of Texas, some part of that, just rivalry thing. But I think Tennessee,
looks like the Broncos colors, more of that. Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
I think Tennessee's got some sharp stuff. So yeah, that's a sharp looking graphic. So after Syracuse, it'll be ETSU at Neyland Stadium in a game that you can name your score on Saturday, September the 6th. Then SEC play gets started in a big way in week number 3 as they will welcome the Georgia Bulldogs to Knoxville on September the 13th. Already been announced as the big afternoon game for television viewers, that 2:30 kickoff or 3:30 Eastern kickoff. So that's a big one in week 3. Then week 4, back to the non-conference as they will play host to UAB on September the 20th. And one more game to close out the month of September and lead them into their first bye week, back to the SEC schedule as they will travel to Starkville to take on Mississippi State, and then they will break the first week of October. So Syracuse, neutral site to start the year, ETSU at home, Georgia at home, UAB at home, and at Mississippi State. That is the month of, I guess, mostly September, but August technically as well.
I mean, that's if everything goes the way it should, I mean, they'll be favored to win 4 of those 5 games. Obviously, we already know they're not favored to beat Georgia, but Syracuse is in the same spot that they are, as they both had to get transfer quarterbacks at the end of the spring because they brought in Steve Angeli from Notre Dame. So, if that holds to Joey Aguilar and Steve Angeli starting that game on August 30th, then that's going to be a lot of mystery offensively for them, but they should be 4-1. Like, even with the change of quarterback, you should be 4-1 heading out of that first 5 games.
Well, you better be.
Yeah.
The Syracuse game is interesting because they were really good last year. How they go from last year to who they are this year, expectations are pretty high. That's a nice way to start the year with that Syracuse game.
I feel like Syracuse has got lowered expectations across the board. I think everybody's expecting them to take a step back, and so we'll see if Fran Brown and company could change that. But they're expected, and look, it's win totals, and I don't know how much the expectation is real, but Tennessee's definitely expected to win more games than Syracuse this year. So
no question,
I would favor the Vols there. But yeah, 4-1, and hell, if you're 5-0, you beat Georgia, then Nico who would probably be what a lot of people are saying, but there is still more games to be played. So Saturday, October the 11th, after a break, back at home in Knoxville, as they will play host to Arkansas. Then on October the 18th, big-time rivalry game down in Tuscaloosa. They will travel to Bryant-Denny to face off with age-old rival Alabama. October 25th, Kentucky in Lexington, so back-to-back road games in SEC play for Tennessee. And then on November the 1st, before they take their second bye week, they will be at home against Oklahoma on Saturday, November the 1st. So that second stretch is Arkansas at home, Alabama on the road, Kentucky on the road, Oklahoma at home.
How much and where will, if in fact things don't go well, like if they lost that opening game to Syracuse, and the Josh Heupel supporting him for what he did with Nico Iamaleava, you wonder if they don't have a good start, if there's a couple of hickeys on them, does he start to feel any pressure? I don't know how you can. I mean, they went through the transition. They had a hell of a year last year, but just curious if there's any simmering with that at all.
With his job?
Not his job, but how many people start to get down on in his business?
Well, I mean, everybody at every school that loses a couple of early games is going to be on their coach. But yeah,
not
maybe it's a little
went
bit more
through what he went through, and you wonder if he mishandled Nico. Was it Nico's fault? That's still debatable. I'm just wondering if that ever gets put back into play if they don't start well.
I guess maybe. I don't know what else he's supposed to do, but yeah, I mean, there's always going to be pressure there and higher pressure than most places. But when I think of jobs, I'm not really thinking Josh Heupel anywhere near the front of the line or really too much pressure outside of just the normal pressure that there is to win at Tennessee, especially when you've been winning lately. And that taste is in people's mouths, so that's what they expect. So, yeah, I mean, if you drop a couple early games, then I don't think it would matter what happened with Nico or what happened with anything. It's Tennessee. If you lose a couple early games, there's going to be people that start to get a little bit up in arms over it and a little bit anxious. So, as far as the scheduling goes, I think Arkansas is a winnable game. Bama, that's a winnable game, but that's just, a coin flip. Kentucky winnable, and Oklahoma, we'll see what OU's made of this year, but could be interesting there. And then the final stretch, November the 15th, New Mexico State in Knoxville. Then they travel to Gainesville to take on the Gators on November the 22nd. And then to close out the season, it'll be the rivalry with Vanderbilt in Knoxville, a little battle of Tennessee, November the 29th. At Neyland Stadium, and that looks like it'll be an afternoon game already. So Vandy to close things out. So that final stretch will be New Mexico State. That's an SEC special, as I have coined that. That is definitely an SEC special, is New Mexico State in mid-November. But then Florida on the road and Vanderbilt at home.
They have a terrible history at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. They have a terrible history recently, actually, against Florida. I mean, like the last 25 years or so, it's been difficult for them to win that game. They've not done it. So that's going to be a really key matchup for them. And, coming off of, the stretch that they were with Alabama and Oklahoma, and there will be the two toughest games. But this is a team that has a shot, if they can put it all back together, to be a playoff team again, if the quarterback position and everything that they feel that they've built is good. But losing a guy that's as talented as Nico Iamaleava as late as they did, and hopefully this team has got some, chemistry and are together because they're going to have to have that stuff to build on and help out Joey Aguilar early in the year and build to something.
Vanderbilt is their top rival, right? Alabama probably is the one that is huge. Vanderbilt's their top rival. I was thinking about this in my own crazy little way. Vanderbilt.
Alabama's their biggest rival.
Yeah. Vanderbilt's their tradition rich. You're going to close out the year against them. That is what I'm saying. Like Georgia
State,
yeah. And then think about this. How many SEC teams have 3 or 4 of those type games, and they're all really good? Mm-hmm. And I know Vanderbilt last year was better with Pavia, and Tennessee gets Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Well, I think for Vanderbilt, Tennessee's their biggest rival.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
We just had the conversation about the third Saturday in October, literally at the beginning of this show with Alabama. Yeah, that's definitely their biggest.
What I'm saying is that you have these games that you're going to have to play. You're going to play them forever and ever, and you hope, of course, we've seen some of those disappear. But the fact that they have Vanderbilt as one that's built in, and the fact they're in the same conference, is interesting because that seems to be a little bit of a break for them when it comes to you have to play this team.
It'd be interesting to go through rivalries, though, and because there's a lot. So Tennessee would be Alabama would be Tennessee's biggest rival. But I wouldn't say Alabama, Tennessee's up there for them. But I would say their biggest rival is Auburn, and vice versa. They would agree on that, Alabama and Auburn.
Well, Texas' biggest rival is Oklahoma. A&M's biggest rival is Texas.
Exactly.
Right.
Texas hates the hell out of A&M, but
it's not like a rule that you can only have one.
Yeah,
either,
but if there's a lot of schools that also before A&M left. That was Tech's biggest rival and probably Baylor's biggest rival, but they did not respect either of those on the same level. Baylor maybe a little deservingly because Baylor never beat them, and Tech, it was denial. Tech, it was total denial of this is not a rivalry because they would go out to Lubbock, especially when Leach was there. They'd go to Lubbock, get their ass kicked, and then they'd be like, that's not a rivalry.
Yeah.
No. And you're like,
it's interesting how you look down at teams that think you are their rival, and you yourself always have somebody else. Probably only about 10 programs don't.
Yeah.
Where you look at others as someone, your rival, and they look down at you.
Yeah. So, it's weird.
What do you guys think? 8-4?
9-3? I think 8-4, 9-3.
I only see 2 games that I would say you kind of bank on potentially being a loss, and that's Alabama maybe and Georgia, and that's about it. I think all the rest of the games you feel like, I think you feel like those games are probably winnable, and you just have to avoid the slip up like against Arkansas last year, where that's probably not a loss that you had circled. So long as you avoid a pitfall like that, you look, if Oklahoma's way better, that was a close game last year, although in Norman, but Oklahoma could jump up, but Florida, Tennessee is a great game no matter where the teams are, so that's ferocious as well. And Vanderbilt will be more interesting than ever to try to get to the point you were making is that's a bigger game now than it ever has been before. But there's a handful of games on here, so I think I'd be tempted to go 9-3.
Out of everybody that you could be scheduled to play in the SEC, and we have seen some schedules like Wisconsin in the Big Ten and others, that's not bad at all. They drew a pretty good bracket, so to speak, when it comes to the games.
Yeah,
even though none of them are easy.
They play Bama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt.
And who do they not play? Yeah.
They miss out on Auburn, LSU, Missouri, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Texas, and Texas A&M. So, they miss out on some pretty good teams.
Let's put it this way. The ones they're playing, I'm not saying they're easy, but they're a lot easier than what they could have played.
Yeah, they outside of Syracuse, their non-conference schedule is shameful. But that's not – at least they have Syracuse on there. There's some that don't have that.
The gauntlet.
Yeah. But they have a nice upper middle class schedule in the SEC. They can roll through that pretty well if everything goes right.
Well, they're at 8.5 wins. I'd be tempted to go 9 because I could see them losing like Bama, Georgia, Florida, or Oklahoma or something like that. So that's why these are always spot on. So yeah, I mean, right there at 8-5 is a great spot to have this because you can commit yourself on 9-3. You could also see where 8-4 is right there. So that's just part of why I don't dabble because it's just I don't know, but I think that's spot on with about where they should be. And if they go 9-3 or better, then hell, that's a hell of a job by Josh Heupel. Forget any pressure. That'd be a big pat on the back. I feel like even though some would probably still be disappointed with that, but I think with kind of the wrench that you were throwing with your quarterback, that'd be acceptable. And you still have the opportunity to go win double digit in a bowl game potentially. So
Rafael Sanchez, Heupel, let's say he wins that Florida game. But then they'll probably then lose to Vanderbilt. That's one of those games. Yeah, the emotions are coming off wherever Florida is at that time, along with Tennessee.
Well, that's the toughness of it's when you're promoting the league, and its toughness is the week in and the week out, right? So yeah, that's one of those where, don't lose to Arkansas because you're looking ahead to Alabama kind of thing, or don't get too high on your horse because you beat Florida and then turn around and go fall to Vanderbilt and fall on your face at the very end. So yeah, that's the week in, week out grind. And yeah, there is the potential if Vandy's Vandy, cocky Vandy, and Oklahoma's way better. I mean, there's a possibility for 7-5 here. I don't think that's out of the question at all.
Isn't it weird though when you see OU's name? I don't look at it like I would have even at this time last year because it's not tainted. They'll figure it out at some point. It's just a matter of when. But it's not like when I see the Alabama and Georgia or a UT logo.
Oh, well, was it not an automatic loss for most every team you're doing a schedule for like it used to be? Yep. That's just a toss up in the air now. It's not far off. It's not quite, but it's not far off of what my fear was you're Arkansas or you're South Carolina, where some years you're good, some years you're maybe not, some years you're average, and you just don't know from year to year, whereas you did pretty much know year to year how strong you were going to be. And right now they're kind of in the wilderness. And if they have another down year and they have to fire Venables, that's a totally different conversation because we're talking about Tennessee. I'm sure they take a whack at Heupel again, but it's not like there's some Kirby Smart dangling out there right now as far as the next great head coach that you would go and be like, oh, well, that's the obvious move for Oklahoma. There's not that guy. So yeah, they're in a weird spot. Tennessee's in a great spot though with Heupel, and they've got an opportunity to win a bunch of games this year. But it is a little bit weird because of the whole Nico situation.
All right,
look, Oklahoma's best hires ever though. I mean, Barry Switzer wasn't some legendary. He was an assistant. At another place, and they brought him in. And Bob Stoops was the defensive coordinator in Florida, and Lincoln Riley was he was the offensive coordinator there, but they hired him from East Carolina when they brought him in. So they're traditionally best hires. Like Brent Venables was at Clemson. Of course, he was there before, but if it's not Venables, then they'll probably do well, to find somebody that's ready to go and take over there.
Yeah, but Venables was he was the best assistant in America for 10 years. So, he wasn't like any hidden gem or anything like that. No. But I get what you're saying is they haven't taken massive swings. Lincoln Riley wasn't he's a pretty hot and up-and-coming coordinator when they hired him to the point where hey, Bob, you want to go ahead and move out of the way so we can keep this guy? But, they could promote Ben Arbuckle or something. And my point is they're in a spot where nobody quite knows what the future holds for them. I think Tennessee is in a good spot and just had a little bit of a raw deal this offseason. So there's their schedule for 2025 and 3 more to go before we close out the SEC.
All right, Craig, we have Texas and then A&M, and then close it out Friday with the Fighting Pavias, right? Diego and company. When we come back from Craig doing the schedule for Tennessee to Off the Radar, John McClain today a little bit after 5:30. Or around 5:30, and of course we have the top 5 and the poll results and more. This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza had a really good conversation the other day with Bob Mock on the telephone. It was about a week ago about his businesses. He has 5 of them. They're going to be remodeling the store in Woodway, so remind yourself of that. They also have one in Hewitt, so if you want to order pizza, go by and pick one up at Marco's. If Woodway is dusty and kind of working through their changes and renovation. There's one around the corner in Hewitt. Robinson as well, Bell Meat and China Spring. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. The fastest growing pizza brand in America, and I love them. They're really good. I like the thin crust what is it, Paul? Pepperoni.
Magnifico.
No, he said that's wrong.
Magnifico. Yeah.
And also the one that's got just loaded with pepperoni and also with Italian sausage. Bob Mock, 5 locations in Waco at marcos.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Car Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
Sorry, viewers. Here I am again. More me. Welcome back to 365 Sports. Time for a little Off the Radar as we get into what else is going on outside of college sports, which fresh off the media days is slow. Clearly, based on your headlines or lack thereof.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the last few days has been hard. There's not much to watch.
No, it's the deadest time in sports is what this time period is pretty much known as when you get past the baseball all-star break and all those festivities. But baseball's back in full swing, regular season and all that, but just not a lot else going on. WNBA, for those who enjoy that, is of course out there, but there is still some cool stuff happening, and so we try to highlight here amongst other things in this segment. So want to start off with something very cool that happened on Friday and what it's now led to for the Baseball Hall of Fame. But we have not talked about a young man by the name of Nick Kurtz, a.k.a. Big Amish, who is not Amish, but whose nickname is the Big Amish. And I'm sure at this point, if you followed any sports whatsoever, you know exactly who Nick Kurtz is because he was all of the talk of the sports world on Friday night given his performance against the Astros, and really into Saturday. Was still seeing a ton of stuff written about him and seeing even more. So if you are one of those who doesn't follow baseball at all and are wondering who Nick Kurtz is, well, he is the man named Big Amish, who's not Amish, who also against the Astros went 6 for 6 with 4 home runs, 8 RBI, and 19 total bases in one single game. Pretty remarkable, and nearly had 5 home runs. Got very close to having 5 home runs in that game on Friday night. But what a performance it was. 18th player since 1900 to hit 4 home runs in a game. That actually seemed like a lot more than I would have thought it was.
Yeah, let's see. Bo Jackson did it once. For the longest time, the last person to do it was Glenn Allen Hill.
Yeah, from Toronto. Was he with the Blue Jays at the time?
Or maybe the Indians. I can't remember. Yeah. But yeah, Glenn Allen Hill did it. So, but yeah, it's been a long time. I'm trying to think of the other ones. But yeah, Nick Kurtz is a monster.
Yeah, so 18th player since 1900 to hit 4 home runs in a game. He nearly had 5, as I mentioned, but had a double as well and a single along with those 4 home runs. So 19 total bases. The 19 total bases ties him with Sean Green back in 2002 as the most. And then 6 runs total scored, which is, that's you're crossing home plate 6 times. You're definitely contributing to your team in a major way. Only the 9th player since 1900 to score 6 runs in one game. So pretty remarkable stuff there when you're talking about 2 records since, or you're talking about 1 since 1900 and then less than 20 guys since 1900 and the only guy since 2002. So he had an OPS of 982 before this game. And so this just like raised up what was already a pretty successful season. But what an incredible game for Nick Kurtz. Did you guys take that in at all? Did you see any highlights?
I saw. Oh yeah. I mean, me, I'm following baseball on Twitter all night long.
Is it true that the broadcaster miscalculated a home run?
Yeah, well, that wasn't, it was Chip Carey, but it wasn't for him. It was for Lawrence Butler.
Oh,
he lost it in the lights, and then
said it was foul.
Yeah, he said it was foul, and then when Lawrence Butler came circling around second base, and he looked up at the jumbotron, he was like, "Oh crap! Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't know if it was Kurtz."
Yeah,
So Kurtz with that big game on Friday night is giving some stuff back to Cooperstown as he got his game-used cleats authenticated. At first, he was being asked about giving his bat, and he had only been using the bat for the past couple of weeks. So obviously, like, man, this thing's got some juice to it. I'd like to keep it. The Hall of Fame did tell him that he could hold on to the bat until it broke or when he no longer wanted to use it, but he declined and went ahead and sent his bat and said when the Hall of Fame asked, you just kind of have to do it. Also had his game-used cleats authenticated, as I mentioned. Those will eventually go to Cooperstown, but he did say they're the only cleats I got, so I have to keep wearing them. When I'm done using them, they might as well go as well. So he's getting some stuff sent to the Baseball Hall of Fame. They're going to have a little exhibit, I would imagine, a little thing set up for him, but pretty damn cool. Most extra base hits in his first 66 career games. He was on that list just behind Joe DiMaggio through the past 125 seasons. So he can go on and on with like all the different accomplishments, but pretty cool. Nick Kurtz is getting some Hall of Fame love, and rightfully so after a huge game on Friday night against the Astros.
They've got a couple of good young players. Jacob Wilson, not our Jacob Wilson that used to work with us, but actually he's out for a while. He's got a fractured forearm, but he's got one of the wildest stat lines in the world. He's hitting like 322. And you know what his on base percentage is, Smokey?
322. He's hitting 322.
You want to like to know? Would you like to know what it is? This on base percentage, he's hitting 322.
It's got to be 8 something.
No, it's like 323.
So he doesn't walk at all.
He doesn't walk, and he doesn't
he
doesn't walk, and he doesn't strike out.
Okay.
He just like if you give him a pitch in the zone, he's going to make contact and he's going to get on base It's wild. It's absolutely wild. But they have him. They have Nick Kurtz. They have Lawrence Butler, who's the one who hit the home run that Chip Carey lost in the lights. They've got some interesting young players as they play out this stretch in San Diego before moving to Vegas. But unfortunately for the A's, a lot of people won't get to see them because they have a terrible owner who does dumb things.
Well, I mean, they're going to be in Vegas now, so just in time.
Yeah.
Those guys will be bigger stars than anybody was for Oakland in the last 25 years as far as marketing and things like that go. But, I mean, nice timing for the A's, who would normally just trade these guys away in the next couple of years. But now, they'll probably hold on to them, right? Because you got to have something to sell. And maybe the timing is exactly perfect for once for the Oakland, soon-to-be Las Vegas A's. But, Nick Kurtz sending some gear to the Hall of Fame based on that historic night, and just incredible to read off those stats for anybody, anytime. What a game. Meanwhile, we've had another passing in the world of sports. Seems like there's been a lot of passings just in entertainment here lately. Ozzy Osbourne last week and Hulk Hogan. And I don't want to start naming more names off because I'm sure I'm forgetting about somebody already. But in the world of sports, Ryan Sandberg passed away at age 65. He is best known, obviously, as a big-time star for the Chicago Cubs, a baseball Hall of Famer. He passed away yesterday from metastatic prostate cancer at the age of 65, and the team was the one to announce that. He was at his home surrounded by family, according to the Cubs, and his number 23 jersey is already retired. He's got a statue outside of Wrigley Field as well, but I'm sure there will be some tributes certainly coming his way in Chicago soon, and we'll see what else that they do. But what a tremendous baseball player, and definitely the guy who, growing up for me in the '90s, was the one that I thought of when I thought of the Cubs. It was like Ryan Sandberg, and that was a pretty easy answer for me for a very long time. But very sad news. 65 years old.
Yeah, he was just something else. He personified the 80s and 90s of baseball for me. He was one of the faces of it. It was him and Ripken and Mike Schmidt and guys like that that I often think of when I think about that late 80s, early 90s run. I remember him in the home run derby at Wrigley Field. I remember watching it in the afternoon in the summertime, turning on WGN because the Cubs, even when they got lights, I mean, still to this day, they play the most day games.
The Braves and the Cubs were on every afternoon.
But they were on, and the Cubs didn't have lights until 88 or 89. So they still had that kind of baked into their just tradition of playing these afternoon games. So, man, I watched a lot of Ryan Sandberg growing up, a lot of them. I mean, he was, I think for mine and Craig's generation, he was just a really popular player, no matter if you were a Cubs fan or not. Everybody knew Ryan Sandberg because of WGN. And he carried himself as the perfect local baseball hero should. Always did. And I know that Ernie Banks is Mr. Cub, but if there was a second Mr. Cub, it would be Ryan Sandberg, because he, to me, in my generation, and Craig's generation, is synonymous with the Chicago Cubs.
He was quiet. He wasn't, he's not someone that brought a lot of attention to himself, other than the fact he's a hell of a player. He was he not on the staff when the Cubs finally broke the drought for the World Series? He was on staff in some way.
I think he's in the front office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which was cool. But you heard the Dion story yesterday. The prostate cancer testing, PSA. Maybe they did that. Maybe he found out. Maybe it was too late. But there's another example: prostate cancer in a man that it seemed like that mid-60s to upper 60s when it kicked you.
Well, I mean, if you were looking for a sign of whether you should go get checked out or not, and you've been wondering, I think the world has said over the last 2 days of go get checked out. If you're a dude, go get your prostate checked. Deion Sanders, Ryan Sandberg. I feel like there's somebody else that's been in that mix as well. It
was a Hollywood actor or a singer in the last 6 to 8 months that died because of it too. I can't remember who it was.
So I'm left-handed, and I had a glove where Ryan Sandberg's name was in it for some reason because he wasn't left-handed. I don't know what that was all about. I didn't really like that. I would prefer to have had a Griffey glove because Griffey was left-handed, or somebody who was left-handed. But for whatever reason, I ended up with a Ryan Sandberg left-handed glove, and that's what I wore It was actually falling off, and I couldn't get a new glove. I don't know.
Do you
like,
still
it was
have
like,
it? Do you keep it?
I mean, it was like before high school even graduated,
Yeah.
it was already falling apart. I mean, the liner had all fallen out.
Yeah,
all
usually,
that.
your father should do a better job of getting you a glove that's not a right-handed guy with a left-handed glove.
Or just a new glove at that point would have been good in general.
loser.
But yeah,
Especially one that works in sports and would know these things.
Yeah. I actually was cleaning out my closet the other day and found a couple of old baseball gloves. That's interesting you bring that up. None of them were
that
left-handed.
glove literally fell apart, and it was the Ryan Sandberg glove that I had had for like 10 plus years, and so I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Ryan Sandberg for that reason of just he was the autograph in the palm of my glove for so long. But yeah, I don't know why he was on a left-handed glove, but he was. So Ryan Sandberg passing away at age 65. And it was said by Jed Hoyer, Cubs president of baseball ops, during the team's broadcast on July 20th. This was from ESPN, but just kind of wrapping it up. He was a superhero in this city. You think about Jordan, Walter Payton, and Ryan Sandberg all here at the same time. And I can't imagine a person handling their fame better, their responsibility for a city better than he did. So Ryan Sandberg, moving on up, so to speak. And the Cowboys got some good news yesterday on the injury front after a little bit of panic that Tyler Guyton might be lost for the entire year after a knee injury took him off the field in training camp. The Cowboys getting some good news. Their left tackle, who's entering his second year, will miss some time. He is injured with a knee injury, but the possibility of playing against the Eagles is a lot higher than it was yesterday when people thought he would miss the entire season. So holding out hope that he will be okay. He got pushed into some bodies during a team period, landed awkwardly, was on the ground for a few minutes before he got helped off by training staff. But after the exams, much less severe than initially anticipated, and it was not a torn ACL. His ACL is intact, and instead he got a bone fracture, which will keep him out for 1 to 2 months. So, Paul, big sigh of relief, I would imagine, on your part.
Yeah, but it's always 4 to 6 weeks. Which
they never have really serious injuries, do they?
Shut up. Demarion Overshown's lucky to have a leg.
No, God, no.
But no, it is. Look, it's at least a little bit of good news. Like everything I read, every time Stephen Jones talks, I don't even notice Jerry anymore so much. Like he's going to say ridiculous things.
Good for you. That makes your life a lot easier.
But no, because now I focus on the guy I really think is the problem, and that's Stephen, because Stephen's really the guy who kind of runs those contract negotiations, and then they get to Jerry later. And Stephen the other day said, well, Micah's got to want to get paid. And I don't know what the F that means.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Just like so-called drought. Like, what is going on?
He's starting to get up there in age too now.
Yeah.
I remember when I first met him and interviewed him, he was like 20-something.
Put Kai in charge.
Yeah, young phenom. Yeah.
He's John Stephen. Somebody take over.
He was a hell of a player at Highland Park High School.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So Tyler Guyton is going to be okay after all. Couple more notes. Kalen Clark Stalker has been sentenced. 55-year-old man from Texas, Denton, Texas, named Michael Lewis, told police he was, according to ESPN, in an imaginary relationship with Caitlin Clark. He was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison.
He said imaginary?
He said an imaginary relationship.
Yeah.
He was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison yesterday after pleading guilty to stalking and harassing. A Denton native reached a deal with Marion County prosecutors, which he pled guilty to 1 felony count of stalking, 1 misdemeanor count of harassment. He'll get credit for time served at the Marion County Adult Detention Center. Since his arrest, he was ordered to stay away from Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Hinkle Fieldhouse, Fever events, and Indiana Pacers organization events, and must have no contact with the 23-year-old Clark. He will also not be allowed internet access during his sentence. And so the prosecutor said this helps resolve blah, blah, blah. He had been arrested on January 12th after allegedly sending hundreds of threats and sexually explicit messages on X, aka Twitter, to Clark between December of last year and January of this year. One of those messages, according to court documents, been driving around your house 3 times a day.
Oh, God.
But don't call the law just yet. The public is allowed to drive by Gainbridge, a.k.a. Caitlin's Fieldhouse. Another message, I'm getting tickets. I'm sitting behind the bench. Another one, they said I was sending threatening texts, but the only thought on my mind was Caitlin, all spelled out in capital letters. So just a total creepo, total in case of probably some mental illness, and a guy that needs to be off the streets and is now off the streets for at least the next year plus, but or maybe a couple years. I don't know about how much time served, but there you go. Michael Lewis sentenced in the stalking case over Caitlin Clark, and there's a few things off the radar. I'll leave it there.
There's some guys in the chat room are saying that they had imaginary relationships with some people too, and they're all being very, very not very nice.
Well,
who do you think were one of the top 2 or 3 names of women that were brought up in the chat room?
Given the age of them, like
Farrah Fawcett,
Selma Hayek.
I was going to say Sophia Loren.
Kim Coulter said he had one with Selma Hayek.
Mae West. We got all old people. Got old people in there.
Doris Day.
Donna Reed.
Who's the lady that was the mother of Brady Bunch?
Oh, God, what is her name?
I don't know. That's why I asked.
I mean, Carol Brady. What is her name? Golly,
Jessica Alba.
Oh yeah, there you go. There's my timeline right there. That's for sure.
There you go.
Hey, look, Craig, recently single.
Who?
So you're
Alba.
saying?
Wow.
Yeah, there
so
you go.
There's a chance.
I'm saying there's a better chance now than before. So
yeah, her old husband was named Cash, if I remember correctly. So she divorced Cash, huh?
Yes,
and walked away with a lot of it probably too, and brought most of it into the marriage most likely as well.
Actually, I say this because they're one of our sponsors. He's the founder of Pair of Thieves.
Really?
Well, I think he is a great man, and he has done so much good for this world. And I love Pair of Thieves, and so it's a great company, and you should support them. And
look,
it'll go to her eventually, probably, but
he's doing well. He's doing well.
Somebody said Susan B. Anthony. If in fact you had an imaginary relationship with somebody, would it be an athlete or would it be like Jessica Alba?
It would be an actress or a singer or something like that. Not an athlete for me. I don't have a sports crush. I know like half the world's is Caitlin Clark apparently. I mean, the way it's kind of portrayed and the way it's shown in like viewer metrics and things like that. I mean, I don't know about crush for everybody because there's just little kids watching and stuff too. But you know what I mean? Like she's just got such an aura about her that it's really like bizarre is not the right word because it sounds negative. But I say this like every time she gets brought up. I don't know that I fully get it. Like just how popular she is.
Yeah, she just I don't compared to 2 of her teammates. Was it Hull and Sophie Cunningham?
You're the WNBA expert with Paul now. So I'm the one that's on the outside now.
There was a time when Skylar Diggins, Paul rang our bell a little bit, right? Remember when she was at Notre Dame? But Florence Henderson. Is that the one who was at Brady Bunch?
Florence
There you
Henderson.
go. Thank you very much for that. Okay.
I would have said Maureen O'Hara, who is from that era. A lot of people would have picked Maureen O'Hara. That would be.
If Craig brought up Farrah Fawcett, that was the poster.
What's
for
the oldest
everybody
Brady's name? Marsha Brady. Marsha.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Anyone else? Craig? Anything else?
I was done about 5 minutes ago. I told you I was wrapped up
Adrienne
with all three.
Barbeau?
Man, that's a. She's a Bond girl, wasn't she?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. All right. Thank you, Craig, very much. John McClain around the corner in Mud. Garrett, who would have been your imaginary relationship?
I mean, like as a child, probably like
a child.
I don't know, like Gabrielle Union or something. Right now, man, like Megan the Stallion, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Megan the Stallion.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
He likes that song.
He's wearing his Montreal Expos cap. How many caps do you have? Are they all hung in a closet or what?
I have them on a shelf. I have probably 40, close to 40. I have almost every MLB team, but I gave some to my nephew, so I got to re-up.
Found an old Redskins hat the other day going through the closet. All right, when we come back, a couple more nuggets to get to. This is 365 Sports.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
So we mentioned yesterday the watch lists are starting to come out. I think 3 of them came out today. And one, the Bronco Nagurski preseason watch list. Of course, there's 60, I think, players listed of the Big 12. Bud Clark, the safety at TCU. Jeremiah Cooper, defensive back, Iowa State. CJ Fight, that's our young man from Tatum, Texas at Arizona State, defensive tackle at Arizona State. Lee Hunter, defensive tackle from Texas Tech. Jack Kelly, linebacker, BYU. And let's see, Iowa State cornerback Jontez Williams. Baylor's Keaton Thomas, linebacker. And Kansas State's Austin Romaine, linebacker. That's it. No, Jacob Rodriguez. I was wondering. Yeah, he was on there, the linebacker from Texas Tech. So I'd say about, 9, 10 players out of 60 are part of that watch list.
I never know what to make of those.
Well, you
They're
don't have
so
to.
big. Yeah,
Caleb Downs, of course, is a huge name on there. Anthony Hill, Texas, is another name that's on there among a handful of others, but those are just a few of them right there.
There's not really anything to make from them. I mean, honestly, it's just a public publicity thing, just to get word of mouth going about your award and get it in the talking circles as the season starts up, and just bring a little attention to it as things get going. And some awards do weekly updates and players of the week and things like that. But I mean, I like all the awards at the end of the year and all the attention that's placed on the Heisman and stuff. I still get into that for all the things that people are looking to change. I think that the awards are still pretty rock solid as far as how they are. Now, you can make the case of like, would the Heisman be better if it was post-playoff and things like that, especially like as this has all changed so much.
It's not one game anymore. Like when it was one bowl game, you're like, all right. You know, like I like, okay, we can move it back to then. But now when you're talking about a guy who could have 4 more games or something like that.
Like lead his team to a national title from like a 6 seed or something. Yeah. Like, and so I don't know how that's going to work in the future, but the awards are pretty much what they've always been. And so they're fun to look at. And it's really, as much as anything, it's just an opportunity for the schools to say, hey, look at, like, here's another piece of promotion to get you excited about the upcoming season. So, I mean, that's all it really boils down to. And so, yeah, it's promotion across the board for the awards, for the schools, for the players. 21 linebackers, 11 ends/edge rushers, 10 corners, 10 D tackles, 8 safeties on this list. Georgia had the most with 4, including Dalen Everett and KJ Bolden, the safety and corner from their secondary.
Let me tell everyone what the award is actually for the best defensive player. There's a couple of them like that, but it's not just for defensive lineman or whatever, but the defensive player, defensive player of the year.
Yeah, if we didn't mention that, we need to probably outline what it is. 2 other SEC teams, Alabama, Texas, each have 3. Oregon, Clemson also have 3 apiece. So that's about what you'd expect. Like the same teams that have the most of everything on everything have the most nominations as well. But last year, Xavier Watts, safety from Notre Dame,
really
that's 23. They're mentioning that he was in 23. Sorry, but Notre Dame has a couple, and so you can go through all the schools and who has what. But there's some fun names. Bud Clark's a hell of a player. So I think he's got a great shot. Kip Lewis, a Texas boy there at Oklahoma, is a fun player.
Carthage High School.
Yeah. Dante Corleone. Did you mention him? Dante Corleone?
No, I did not. I'm glad that was the name I overlooked him. Yeah.
Cincinnati erasure. We won't have that here. No, Dante Corleone.
Son of a bitch right there.
Being back is great news. Lee Hunter for Texas Tech. Yeah, I mean, it's just cool to see the names. It's pretty much the same names.
I did Kim Coulter because every list should have at least somebody from Tech on it. And I mentioned a couple of the defensive lineman, linebacker, Hunter, and then Rodriguez. David Bailey, the transfer from Stanford, who's ranked very high, depending on which list you look at when it comes to NFL prospects. He is not on that list. So,
well, means nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
they watch lists and they add names or 2 or 3 sometimes almost weekly.
That's what I mean. So, like, it's fun for discourse and fodder, and it's fun, especially social media or message boards, to talk trash, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, ultimately, if you're not on this list, it doesn't matter. You can get on the list by just playing well. So we'll see who's there at the end. But this is a good little primer, like all of the others, to kind of see who's out there. And quite frankly, to see Texas Tech with 2 guys on this list and 1 guy who probably should be on this list.
Yep.
What a big year. And you hear what we heard yesterday. I mean, they've got like as many guys as anybody on the preseason watch list for the Shrine Bowl, like 20 plus guys, which they're not getting 20 guys drafted. But I mean, to even have that many in the conversation is pretty special, because so much focus is on like just the money figures and not what they actually did with it. Although there is discussion about that, but I think people get lost in the overall picture and not the individual pieces and how all those come together, man. I mean, they are easily one of the most fascinating storylines in college football this year, because it's boom or bust. And even if they go like 10-2, but they don't win the Big 12, that's a bust. Like it'd be a great year, but nationally, perception-wise, now that's what they've set themselves up for.
That goose egg when it comes to the Big 12 and championships. You're right. Kyle Kennard won it last year, South Carolina.
There you go.
Last Big 12 player, not with a team that switched conferences while they were in the Big 12, the last Big 12 player to win the Nagurski Award for the top defensive player in the country. Any idea?
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, the way you said it, I thought you were going to say it, and then you said
that was a dangling participle.
Somebody from Texas or Ndamukong Suh?
Ndamukong Suh, Craig, well. Orakpo the year before that, by the way.
So, yeah.
Derek Johnson, Waco native, a great player. Roy Williams, Big 12 also had, that was it. Those are the Big 12 players, at least when they were in the Derek Strait, defensive back from Oklahoma, also was a part of that from when they were a part of the Big 12.
That was a bad mamma jamma, Derek Strait. He was
the thing
dude.
I always liked about him, he seemed to throw his body. I don't know how big he was, but he was just ferocious. I mean, Roy Williams is a big dude.
And he was small.
He was a biscuit away from a linebacker, as Bill Parcells mentioned. All right, the Outland Trophy, which is given out to the best college interior lineman. It could be offense or defense. 50 players. Omar Abedijan from Baylor.
No.
Abedian.
There you go.
We had him on. He was a good interview in a postgame, wasn't he, Garrett, for us, a pregame? Sam Heck from Kansas State. Cincinnati's Dante Corleone, the Godfather. Spencer Fano from Finau from Utah. Or Arizona State, CJ Fight. Man, he was really getting a Bryce Foster from KU. Was he not an A&M signee out of high school in Houston?
He was an A&M player.
Yeah. Lee Hunter.
He was a starter for a couple
from
years.
Tech. Utah's Caleb LOMU Lomu, the offensive lineman. Iowa State's Dominique Orange. There's a Jordan Seaton, tackle from Colorado. And that's it. I may have overlooked one name or two, but there's a pretty good chunk. Last year's winner for the Outland. And again, this is the interior lineman. So edge rushers aren't going to be a part of this list or anybody other than like the dudes in the trenches. And last year, Kelvin Banks, the offensive lineman from Texas, after Tavondre Sweat the year before, back-to-back years for the Horns.
Yeah, and I mean, the way they're recruiting, they could pile up a nice little streak potentially. I went and looked at Derek Strait because I said he was small, and then I immediately said that. And I was like, but not like I know. Like when I think of that, I think of like Honey Badger, you know?
Yeah.
You know, he was almost 6. Derek Strait was almost 6 foot, so he wasn't like small. I meant more like the way he played. He was just ferocious. But yeah, he was not like a small guy. So anyways, that's me doing what I'm taught not to do and going back and correcting myself. But yeah, that's a much shorter list as far as representation goes than the Nagurski list you read off a second ago. But Lee Hunter, I mean, there's Texas Tech again, and making the comment about the guys. I mean, the fact that they're even on defensive lists and it's not just Jacob Rodriguez goes to show you kind of how they retooled. And I know they have some young guys, but now they're like multiple representatives on multiple lists for defense, which has not been a calling card in a really long time. So,
especially when Mahomes was there,
they can get that sorted out. Then yeah, that's the missing piece. And Lee Hunter is a big part of the reason why people believe that they can. So excited to see Corleone back, and didn't have to come back. Could have gone in the portal, could have gone to the NFL. But I think that's a big deal for Cincinnati, and they've really maintained their base star players, as we talked about with Satterfield at Media Days. They were able to keep their best guys. So I think that they are potentially a team that is being underrated or discussed, and that will be the case because they're not like you talk about them and you get 10,000 hits. So they're going to fly under the radar because I feel like a lot of times now you only get talked about if you're going to bring attention, right? So Cincinnati not exactly doing that. They have the ability to kind of just do their thing, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, damn, Cincinnati's actually a lot better than we expected them to be. So yeah, they might be able to be a team that makes a little bit of a move this year. Not like win the Big 12, but like be interesting.
I think they're gonna nick some people. That's for sure.
He wasn't just coach speak. He had an edge to him. By the way, Kim Coulter, did I hear Craig say that Tech winning the Big 12 at 10-2 would be a failure? No, you didn't.
No.
You don't pay attention
He said
enough.
if they go 10-2 and
don't win the Big 12,
the Big 12,
Yeah.
people nationally may look at that as a failure.
Yeah,
I think people in Lubbock should look at that as a failure.
Yeah.
I think anything short of a Big 12 championship, unless it's like that was your first loss of the year, and it was against like undefeated Arizona State or something, which wouldn't be the case because you play each other. But you know what I mean? A scenario like that, then yeah, I think that would be, for most people, that'd probably be a failure of the big picture objectives. Yeah.
Who was it? Paxton goes, the Satterfield interview at Big 12 Media Days. He was excited. My favorite coach interview, which you wouldn't have thought that his name would be a part of that mix, but he was really sharp, and good luck to him this year with that too.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the couple times we talked to him. I think he's He's a solid dude, and he's been nice to talk to. And they just kind of get lost in the shuffle because they're just not good enough to be top of mind, and they're not big enough to be like at the front of the line when it comes to who people want to talk about because of size of the fan base and whatnot. So yeah, they're just sort of there. And I know there's a lot of Big 12 fans who feel like if it was up to Big 12 fans voting, I feel like Cincy might be the first off the boat, like into the water. Houston might not be far behind based on how Utah might be first though. Like just off of forget what you even bring. We just want you gone. I think Utah might grab that vote, but yeah, Cincy's one of those teams that you know why initially they were brought in and you know what they were coming off of when they got brought in, but they've just been kind of feels like they're wandering a little bit and you don't quite know what to expect. But Satterfield was full of confidence and I think they got some pieces that could make them interesting this year and garner a lot more talk than we saw in 2024.
Yeah, one more note about the Outland Trophy is that everyone discusses Nebraska's downfall, and it's been obvious for 25 years, although Ndamukong Suh was 2009. They've had the most Outland Trophy winners with 9. Alabama has 6. Texas, I think, has 5. 9. And that came from 1970 to 2009. 9. That's where their fall. Yeah, they've had some players that are pretty good. They don't have the absolute badass guys in the trenches on the offense and defensive line.
Well, part of that is
that's part of what's happened to them too.
The high schools in the Midwest that used to feed them running the power I stopped running that, and it started going everywhere else.
Yeah.
But I remember the look in Scott Satterfield's eye, and that to me,
it was very reminiscent of Neil Brown in West Virginia the year before.
It's very hey, look, I know something about this team that most people don't. And look, Sorsby was out for a couple games last year, and they lost those games. So
was Corleone, wasn't he?
Yeah,
didn't he miss some time?
And so it stands to reason if Sorsby's healthier, they'll win more games.
Yeah.
So like it's same thing with. I'll just compare him to a former Big East foe of theirs in Pitt. Eli Holstein's in the game, they win. Brandon Sorsby plays most of the time. Cincinnati won. So the games he was out, they lost, and for sure. So their odds go up, and he's a guy in third-year starter, so kind of knows what he's doing. Big athletic dude. So yeah, I think they're gonna. Again, I don't think they're going to be standing there at the end of the year, but I do think that there's going to be some teams that look back and go, man, we lost that damn Cincinnati game, and now we're sitting on the outside looking in.
Yep. So thanks for the feedback. MBM, by the way, with the college conference realignment, always a discussion no matter what. We should have taken Boise State over Cincinnati. I disagree. Boise State's a really good option. We like him, but I disagree.
That's where I've seen that kind of conversation around the Big 12 when it started getting into realignment, like who could we have taken or who should we have taken or who could we dump and then add to replace. And unfortunately for Cincinnati, they are – if you take the Utah hate out of the way, then, yeah, Cincinnati and I think Houston's probably UCF. I think those are the three. The three American schools that were brought in that are often mentioned. But yeah, I mean, the thing about what you said there is Boise is attractive for a lot of reasons, but all those people got into a room on multiple occasions and did multiple studies and talked to multiple people. And in the end, they decided Cincinnati was better than Boise State.
Oh, yeah.
For what they were trying to do.
Well,
and they were coming off of a CFP appearance.
Yeah.
I'm going to text Bowlesby, guys, and ask him who was, maybe off the record, who was fifth, because we know Memphis was, and who else was in that group?
I know this just from following what happened at Boise afterwards. Clearly, when Boise got their rejection letter, they got reasons why. And seeing as I would say that Mac Rhodes and Jeremiah Dickey know each other pretty well, that Mac probably told him
There's
like what the checklist. And if you look at some of the things they've done since then to improve it, they're all on the checklist, which is one of the things they had to do was get better at basketball, which they've slowly done. They're not there yet, but they got to get better at basketball. They've got to improve some of their facilities in other sports so that when they join as an all-sports member, that it's not just like they can brag about the blue turf. It's an amazing, great football stadium, but they had to improve some of their other things as well. And
yeah, it's not just it is about football.
Yes.
But men's basketball has to be able to prop up a little bit unless you're really, really good in football.
But that gets you in the raffle. It doesn't necessarily win the raffle.
I think Jeremiah told us when he arrived there that they had work to do.
Yeah, they had work to do.
They didn't complain. They just went to work.
Well, they're going to be fine in the new pack, whatever. I think they're going to be one of the crown jewels of that thing, and they're in a good spot. I think Texas State aside, the conference makes a lot of sense geographically, which isn't always the case these days. It's not too large yet. And I don't know that there's enough teams out there to make them too large. So that's not a bad spot for them. They'll always be a team of interest. And you may be right. Like 10 years from now, we might be agreeing with you and saying, hey, they should have invited Boise State. But when it comes to that, I just default to, hey, they did all that research and they thought Cincinnati was the better option for whatever number of reasons. So let's give Cincy some time and see if they can pull their weight, so to speak. But they came rolling in on a heater, and these first couple of years have been them kind of, I think, figuring some things out.
They had just been in the semifinals, right, in the college football playoff, right? That's right there. That trumps a lot of what anyone else had. Obviously, it has not worked that way, but it did, as you said, the heater. One more thing. A good friend of the show, John Hoover, covers Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma. He writes for the SI.com, covers. We had him, John, on just a week or so ago. I just want to say our thoughts and prayers are out to him. He has been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and he wrote a big, long letter today that he will not be right. He's going to still continue to be a part of SI and the Oklahoma Sooners site, but he's no longer running the site. And he talks about how the last couple of years have been very difficult. Parkinson's disease, as he mentioned, is like anything else, Father Time. It's undefeated. So our thoughts and prayers. He's already having a lot of the symptoms and has been having symptoms. John's a great dude. We appreciate all he's done for us when he's joined our show. We wish him the very best of luck. When we come back, John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, and this is 365 Sports.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
It's the Make This the Summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Get a new 2024 Dodge Daytona Scat Pack or Jeep Wagoneer S Launch Edition. 0% for 72 months or $20,000 off MSRP. Hurry in. Get these electrifying deals only. Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy, last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
This is 365 Sports.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we are, Garrett Ross, Andrew Valade, and Brandon Rowe, helping to put everything up wherever it goes. and all of the various things we do. Thank you guys very much for what you do. And, of course, our great sponsors, John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist with us. So, John, I was just kind of just monitoring for about 5 to 10 minutes, just seeing what's going on, NFL camps. Landry Locker, good friend of ours, went to school, I think, with Jennifer at Texas Tech. Drew Rosenhaus is here. He immediately engages in a conversation with his buddy, John McClain. You are a rock star, sir.
All I did was go over and talk to him. He's got like 6 or 7 clients, and he was there specifically to try to work on a extension with their punter, Tommy Townsend. And I think Drew's told me he tries to make every training camp because he has clients on every team.
John, what have you seen interesting at Texans camp? If you've been out there much?
I've been out there every day, and everybody watches the offense. Their defense is really good. The defense is out playing the offense in almost every practice. They put on pads Monday. It gave the offensive linemen a chance to hit back and be more physical, and they change the line almost every day. Right now, if they started the season at the Rams with the group they had running as a first team today and yesterday, they would not have one starter back at this position at which he started last season. And only one guy, right guard Titus Howard, is back in the lineup, and he was a left guard. So it's a work in progress. There's a lot of pressure. The guys they brought in, 5 new ones, 3 are free agents, and none of them played real well with their last team. So maybe coaching scheme, I'm not sure. They're hoping can help them. And I've never been to a training camp where more people paid more attention to an offensive line. Usually it's quarterback, running backs, wide receivers, pass rushers, cornerbacks. But in this one, it's all about their offensive line.
John, I know guys missing time right now is not a big deal. Jalen Petre's missed, I guess, a couple practices. I was more or less, though, wondering in regards to him of what should we be looking forward to, or what should be like kind of the, I guess, the expectations, for lack of a better term, for a Jalen Petre entering this season? What do the Texans want to see? What does he need to see?
When they moved Petre last year, it was kind of like what he did at Baylor. He was covering slot receivers, gave him a chance to blitz, gave him a chance to get involved in a lot of tackles, and he was playing really well. And then he got hurt, tore a pec. He missed the rest of the season. Then he rehabbed. He reported he's in great shape, and he'll be there. He'll be there when they start playing. And they have Derek Stingley Jr., first team All-Pro. They have cornerback Kamari Lassiter, all rookie team. And then they have Petre, and they're covering 2 wides and a slot receiver. And Kalen Bullock, who was a 3rd-round pick last year, also made the all-rookie team. And then they brought in C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles, who intercepted 6 passes for the Super Bowl champion. So they got depth at corner. They've got depth at safety, and they could have one of the best secondaries in the NFL. But to be able to do that, you got to get pressure on the quarterback. And their strength and their deepest area is the defensive line. So that'll help players like Petre. The coaches love Petre just like they did at Baylor. His teammates love Petre. And I think at some point, if Jalen can stay healthy, he'll be a Pro Bowl player.
Man, we were talking about him the other day. I don't know where we were, but the way that he and Terrell Bernard, and they do this even to this day, they're not real large, but they play and hit like they sting you when they hit you. And it's great. I was always wondering, would they be able to handle the wear and tear with their body size? And they have not blinked. And not only that, they got the 2nd contract each. I'm so proud of them, John. They're unbelievable.
The thing about Petre and Bernard, they're both really smart and they're very instinctive. And they adapt quickly to a system. Now, Bernard's been able to have the same system in Buffalo under Sean McDermott. And but those guys, they're quick, Speed's not. They're quick. They're quick. They're smart. They're instinctive. They know where the ball's going, and they're fearless. And that's why coaches and fans and media love players like that.
No question. John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist with us on 365 Sports.
John, which new coach do you think will have the most success early on?
You're talking about head coach in the NFL?
Yeah.
A lot of people seem to think Ben Johnson at Chicago could lead them from worst to first. I don't buy it. The Lions, to me, are still a great team that won 15 games last year. Ben Johnson was the most highly rated defensive coordinator. I would like to say Pete Carroll, because he's got a player I think is going to be offensive rookie of the year, running back Ashton Jeanty. He's got Geno Smith coming off the most yards of his career, but he also has to worry about three teams that are playoff contenders: the Chiefs, the Super Bowl contender, the Broncos, and the Chargers. So it's a really, really tough division. And I think Liam Cohen going to Jacksonville is going to be the best thing that happened to Trevor Lawrence, and they play in a bad division, the AFC South. But I'm still going to go with Ben Johnson, thinking about what he did with Jared Goff. And what Jared Goff got traded there, everybody thought it was going to be a one and done, and then they would use a high pick on another quarterback, and he's been great in that offense. He's been great playing for Ben Johnson. I think we're going to see Caleb Williams make remarkable improvement. And he wasn't too shabby as a rookie, sacked more than any quarterback. A lot of those were his fault. So I'm going to say Ben Johnson.
Is the AFC West the most intriguing division in football now? Just the head coaches and just, I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot more interest out there than there has been maybe in a while. I know Kansas City's the top dog, but the Raiders with that Carroll hire, interesting. Broncos, I mean, what do you think?
Possibly 4 coaches for the Hall of Fame. Certainly Andy Reid will be there. Andy's one of the all-time greats. It's funny how that happens when you get a great quarterback. Jim Harbaugh maybe someday, Pete Carroll for sure, and Sean Payton for sure. But I think the NFC North and the AFC North, clearly in each of those divisions, there's a last place team, and there's a team we think will finish first, but there's 3 playoff teams in each of those divisions, and I think they're going to be really, really good. And of course, in the NFC East, with that record 21 years in a row, I think with no repeat champion, that would mean it would be Washington winning division or perish the thought, the Cowboys. But as somebody pointed out, I saw the other day, in the last 5 seasons in which Dak Prescott has been healthy or close to healthy, meaning he started most of the games, Cowboys have been in the playoffs. So it's all up to Dak. Keep Dak healthy. That division could have 3 teams in there. But each one of them clearly has a clearly defined last place team, I think, except for the NFC North, because the Bears could be greatly improved, still might not make the playoffs. I think Minnesota, of all the good teams last year, letting Sam Darnold go and making the decision to go with J.J. McCarthy, they could certainly drop back from 14 wins to 9, 8, something like that. I think they could take the biggest fall.
John, the Terry McLaurin deal, he reported to camp. I don't think he's participating, but he reported to camp. He had a big deal, 3 years, nearly $70 million. He's going to get about $20 million. But I saw where he actually lost, am I right, $800,000 for holding out. How could that possibly be right? Was that for off-season workouts? Was that one of those scheduled bonuses or whatever? That's a lot of money. I don't care how much you make.
You get fined $50,000 a day. And that's in the last collective bargaining agreement. You missed the mini camp, the mandatory mini camp. That's the only thing they can fine them for during the off-season program. But that starts to add up. The problem with Terry McLaurin is he's going to be 30. He's on his 3rd contract. Usually your 3rd contract is not the one in which you're going to get the big bucks. I think they'll get it worked out. They have not had contract issues since Josh Harris bought that team, and he's of course really, really popular, and he'll be 30 in September. So he's a popular player. He's a team leader. He's come through the bad years. Dan Quinn needs him. I think they'll get it worked out, and they'll give him and not a big new contract like the other receivers, but they'll guarantee him a lot of money.
John, I want to go back to Dak Prescott for a second. You mentioned that when he plays most of the year that they're in the playoffs. I think, and look, I know that he is, he's only so good. Like he's not Mahomes, he's not Josh Allen, but I think he's the most unfairly judged player in the NFL because they're like, well, Dak can't get it done. But the Cowboys roster building is always like, it's like they leave off the last paragraph of the paper they're supposed to turn in. And there's always just one thing that gets them that's not Dak's fault.
It wasn't Dak's fault that they didn't fix their running game last year. It wasn't Dak's fault that they didn't give Derrick Henry even a call, even though he was living and working out in Dallas. It wasn't his fault. They had one of the worst running games, and then he suffered a legitimate injury, and the running game's going to have an issue again unless somebody surprising emerges. That's the thing that the Cowboys have done that surprises me the most. When you look back at the Cowboys' history and the success they've had, there was always a good running back up there at the forefront with a top quarterback. And going back all the way to their first time they got good back in the 60s. And I don't understand Jerry and Stephen Jones not doing something to satisfy that need, because that would help Prescott. And if you know Dak's got to be healthy, you need to do everything you can for Dak, and they haven't done it.
All right, John, I got a question that Paul never asked, but he should. For example, Tyler Guyton, they got really lucky. 4 to 6 weeks, it could have been out for the year. There's a couple of players now. But Paul has a theory.
I don't have this damn
that
theory.
No matter what player on the Cowboys roster is injured, no matter how severe it is, it's 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, yes, I do have this theory. I thought you were going to say.
It's 4 to 6 weeks, and they don't know how to say 6 to 8, 10 or 12. Is that standard practice in the NFL?
No, it's not. And teams don't have any idea when a guy gets a knee injury or a hamstring injury. And because two things, they may not heal the way you want to. It can be more severe. Some players heal quicker than others. Some come back quicker than others because they can play with pain. So when you say 4 to 6 weeks, it could be 7, but it's not going to be 3.
Yeah, the Cowboys, though, every time, unless it's obvious, like Dak's leg that was pointing the other direction, they will say 4 to 6 weeks. And then when you get to the end of that 6 weeks, they're like, yeah, another 4 to 6 weeks. Like they just never like just say it until they have to say, unless it's obvious that, his leg almost fell off.
What the Texans do with DeMeco Ryans, he hates being asked about injuries, and he just says, when he's ready, we'll let you know. And I want to say, yeah, it'll be leaked to Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, and that's how we'll find out. But he always says, when he's ready to play, he'll play, and we'll let you know. So that means it could be 2 to 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. All it means is he hasn't suffered a season-ending injury.
Yeah, that and you hope that doesn't happen. All right, how's everything going with your anything new on the documentary front?
I interviewed guys for 6 hours yesterday, and one of them was Bill Bradley, Super Bill from Palestine. And since he was of course, went to UT as a quarterback, ended up at safety, won it along with Everson Walls, the only players in NFL history, led the league in interceptions back-to-back years. And Bill has a great story about the Big 33 All-Star game between Texas and Pennsylvania. And they never had a black player. And they went to the coach Bobby Lane at Doak Walker, two of the greatest in history, went to Governor John Conley and said, we have to have some black players if we're going to start winning. And, of course, they didn't say black. And John Conley said, well, I'll get you a couple. And they did. They got 3, 2 that didn't matter, and the other one was Jerry Levias. And when they were picking roommates, the first 2 black guys roomed together. Levias didn't have a room. And Bobby Lane says, anybody want a room with this black player, Jerry Levias? Again, he didn't say black. And Bill Bradley grew up in Palestine, said, can he play? Yes, he can. I'll room with him. And from that point on, those guys have been good friends. And while we were interviewing Bill, Jerry came up behind him and surprised him. And Bill and Jerry jumped up and started hugging each other and crying. And then we sat them down and interviewed both of them about that experience. And it was the most emotional thing we've done yet.
That's awesome, man. Good for you. Good for Jerry Levias and Cowboy Bill Bradley. He's quite the entertainment.
Super Bill, remember they called him at Longhorns, and the rest of us called him Dollar Bill for what he got to go to Austin. Although we know the Longhorns have never cheated, ever, and throughout their history.
It's John, is Bill still a psycho?
Bill is having some memory problems. He is the greatest storyteller I have ever heard. Some of them can actually be told on the radio, like the time he and quarterback James Street, his best friend, had front row seats in Vegas for Frank Sinatra. And while Sinatra was playing, something hit him in the face and annoyed him. Then something hit him in the face again. And he stops and says, the next person that hits me in the face with a P, my guys in the back are going to come take you in the back, and you're not going to be shooting peas at me again. Everybody thought it was Bradley, but it was James Street.
Whoa, was it really?
Or the time that James Street, Bill Bradley, the headline says, Street and Bradley held hostage by the Secret Service. And those guys had, the time Bill was on the dating game, and he was Bachelor 1, and the guy, I can't remember his name, said, Bachelor 1, say hello to Bill Bradley. And Bradley said, well, I've been drinking. And the Bachelorette was Playmate of the Year, Angel Tompkins, said, Bachelor number 1, say hello to Angel Tompkins. He said, hello, baby cake. I've seen you naked. He didn't get any more questions.
Oh, my God.
And he didn't get picked.
Was it Chuck Woolery back then?
Yeah, I think that was Chuck. I can't remember Bob Eubanks. I can't remember who did the dating game. It might have been Bob Eubanks.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, John.
Thank you, guys. Second Bears.
Bob Eubanks, Bob Barker, Chuck Woolery, Richard Dawson. Who am I missing? Some of the Linkletter?
Yeah. Jim Lang was the original host, and that was way back when.
Back in the day of those particular type of shows,
yeah,
all right?
But, Brad Sherwood would have been one. I don't know. It depends on when Super Bill was on. So,
he went to Texas in the 60s.
Yeah, so it would have been probably in the 70s
right?
sometime, right? Or late 60s, 70s. But, yeah, he is, I will tell you, one of the great pleasures of my life in this career is getting to know him a little bit, because he's one of the funniest dudes I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And
he's a wild hair.
Look, when James Street got inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, I was at a local bar here afterwards, and they were there. And I hadn't seen Coach Bradley in a couple of years because he had coached here and wasn't anymore. And I walked up and I was like, Coach. And he goes, Paul. And he came up to me and he kissed me on the lips. And
so you could play for the Raiders.
Yeah, he kissed me on the lips. And not only that, James Street's son, Houston Street, who I was really looking forward to meeting, walked past right then. And then I was like, well, I'm not gonna say anything now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he probably knew because that's essentially his uncle. But yeah, that was
hell of a player, Houston Street at Texas, and then the Oakland A's for a good time. Most random message in the chat room today: retired working man, I just mixed in 1 avocado and 1 tomato into a half thingy of Dean's onion dip. That's what we get. It's brilliant. When we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5 and the poll results from Andrew Valade. And this is 365 Sports.
your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into the Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Today, B storylines in the Big 12. And in case you haven't figured out, I am Paul Catalina of Paul Catalina's Top 5. If you're new here, welcome aboard. $5. Cover charge. No? Nothing? Okay, fine. Didn't work this time, but I'll get them next time. Number 5, will Colorado play 2 QBs? Was one of the most, I want to say bizarre, interesting, quizzical things of Big 12 Media Days that Colorado brought both their QBs, transfer Caden Salter of Liberty and true freshman Juju Lewis. Now, will they both play? Bringing both guys to Media Days is something I don't think I've ever seen before, and means you feel good enough about both quarterbacks, at least long term, that you brought them there to Media Days to meet the press, so to speak, and show them off. Very curious thing. And will they have a rotation? I think it's likely that they do. Number 4, is Avery Johnson a legit passer now? He's made strides over his career, but if he is, that means that Kansas State can probably hang all the way in the Big 12 title race until the end of the year. That's really what kind of undid them last year. In games where they fell behind and they were so run first, they just couldn't get back in it because they were not there in the passing game. Wasn't just Avery Johnson. They need to be a little bit better at receiver as well. They think that they've improved that. Talking to Chris Kleiman at Big 12 Media Days, he felt that that part of Avery's game and the offense has evolved over a year, and we'll see. And remember, they have a new offensive coordinator for the second year in a row after their original one went to the Cowboys. Number 3, can Arizona State win games scatterbullous? Is that a word? It is now.
It is today.
Scatterbullous. What do they look like differently? You can't replace a guy individually. You'll have to replace him in the aggregate. That means more Kanye Udo, but also maybe more Jordan Tyson, more things in the passing game that you saw last year. Look, Sam Levitt in year 2 as the starter, probably going to be pretty damn good. So maybe the offense looks different, but they're still effective like they were before. It's just maybe not running straight over people and dominating them into dust like Cam Scatterbu did. It might be more run and gun a little bit for Kenny Dillingham. Number 2, how desperate are things at Oklahoma State? I mean, look at poor Willem Dafoe here. This is how a lot of fans feel right now. After last year's abysmal 3-9 season and for the conference in the Big 12 for Oklahoma State, things have changed. New coordinators, new commitment to the transfer portal, a different look at building the roster. But last year, they thought they had a pretty good roster built around Alan Bowman on that offense. The defense really suffered too many key injuries to be effective, but the offense was the true shocker that had been totally figured out. The offensive line that had tons of veterans on it was a huge disappointment and probably cost Ollie Gordon a round or two in the draft. So what do you do going forward? You make wholesale changes. But Mike Gundy, he had the people turn on him for the first time in his tenure. And it's been a little different hearing from him, the very little he does talk to the media in the offseason. And number one, who will be the most impactful transfer quarterback? Will it be Connor Wegman at Houston? Will it be Caden Salter at Colorado? We don't know. We have no idea. But whoever it is, given that the league is so tight, could swing the league in one way or another. So interested to see that among all the transfer quarterbacks. Heck, even all the guys that they have at UCF, which are legion. They do not know who their quarterback's going to be, but they've got several transfers. They're vying for the job. So who's the most effective when it comes to that? But a lot of returning starters in the Big 12 at quarterback, which makes the league a lot more dangerous than I think people realize nationally. That's going to do it for us. David Smoak, read some polls.
All right, we will do so with Andrew Valade putting up polls earlier today. He just mentioned that a poll from last week had over at the end, because the way YouTube and podcast work, that it never ends, had over 2,000 votes last week in a poll that you had at the end of the week.
Yeah, you missed that one. It was which team would you eliminate, which conference would you eliminate from the universe to save it?
The ACC got wiped off the map.
Did they really?
Yeah, it wasn't even a question.
Yeah, no, it was bad. Yeah,
I think that the thing about them is they had plenty of their own schools voting for that too, though. Florida State fans are voting for that.
Yeah,
Georgia Tech fans.
That's not nice.
No, but they were. I mean,
Miami fans, North Carolina fans.
Yeah,
I mean, there's 4 teams right there that. I mean, I think there's a segment of Louisville fans. They want to be in the Big 12 right now.
Yeah,
that I see online from time to time. So yeah, the ACC is getting votes from within, but I don't know how we fix this, but I'm always surprised like how large the not sure number is on some of these,
If I would
it's like 27%. I don't know.
I would have said no, just completely no. Poll, should college football playoff or March Madness expand? No, or maybe I voted not sure because I don't want to see it in any other ones. I don't even care if it does in football. I really don't. It doesn't matter to me. 58%. Expand college football. 2%. There we are. When it comes to it's a perfect thing what they have in NCAA.
2%
basketball.
And guess what? Those 2% of people are wrong.
Yeah.
They're probably flat earthers.
Yes.
Yeah,
Jennifer Smoak.
There's a healthy number of expand both. I would have been curious if it was just
no.
Do neither one or just stay as is or
I think it would have been higher.
But the expand both crowd, I mean, I feel like there's probably some gambling going on there and just some love of just wanting to see more is better. More is always good. I don't agree. But if you want to see both turn, I mean, you're looking at bare minimum like 16 in football and then 72 or 76 or something. I mean, golly, that's a lot. But I don't know, man. All this playoff talk, I don't even know what I believe anymore, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know what I think is the best bet at this stage, because I think expansion, and then I just think of all the problems we've already seen with that. So I don't know. I'll default to the listeners out there.
All right. Thank you very much. That's poll number 1. Which wing sauce reigns supreme? All right. I'm of one, if there would have been an extra category here. First of all, mango habanero, no way. Garlic parmesan's pretty good, a little dry. Barbecue, you can't. I pick barbecue. Buffalo's, I wear contacts, so you got to be careful with that.
How often do you put your hands in your eyes?
No, twice a day.
Yeah.
And when I wake up, I put them in. No, I wash the hell out of them.
Yeah.
But I'm one that like my wings plain, not like, I like them crispy, but I want them dry. I don't want any seasoning, any sauce, nothing like that, just the wing by itself.
I don't like barbecue. I mean, I like barbecue just fine. I'm not fanatical about it like a lot of people in this state are. It's not like the end all be all to me. I think part of the reason why is I don't like messiness when I'm eating. I'm just very much a clean kind of person, so I don't like sauce all over my hands and stuff like that. But the one to me is ranch dressing. That's what I put on. That's what I would put on my wings.
You're talking about you sauce the wings with ranch dressing, not you dip it in ranch dressing.
Okay. That's where I'm confused. And I was looking at dip, and I was like kind of confused. I was like, the barbecue on your it's a dip. Okay, now that makes more sense to me. So all right, if we were doing dips, then it'd be without a doubt it'd be ranch. Okay, yeah, because there's no blue cheese on here either. So I was confused. So for me, I would actually say the same thing. I would say I don't like wet wings. So
I think there's a beyond. I like them slightly a little bit, not where I'm gonna touch it and then like you have one wing. It looks like you've put your whole hand in the thing of sauce.
I wear my cooking gloves sometimes.
A good flavor sauce that is lightly on there. And actually, some of the best wings I ever had, I was with you and Eric. We were in Tampa, and we were at like his hotel, and they made these wings
when the COVID
during COVID, but it had like a buffalo sauce on it, but like you just wiped your hand with a napkin after each wing, and it was normal.
Oh yeah, I remember y'all went to Mons Venus, right? That's where they had that.
Twice.
Yeah, I would be lying if I said I've never been there, but it's been a long time.
But you weren't there for the wings; you're there for the breast and thighs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, exactly.
No, that's for sure. If you're going to Mons Venus,
yeah.
All right, so 51% Buffalo, overwhelming. Because of my contact, when I had LASIK, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. But when you wear contacts, you have to take that into consideration, even if you scrub your hands off. In fact, if I have wings that have sauce on them, I get that stuff that's grainy. What's that kind of a light brown, grainy soap that it basically peels your fingers? All right, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Great stuff. Brandon Rowe, are you having fun now? We're week 2 into this with you. Okay, good to see you. And Garrett Ross with his Montreal Expos, Andre Dawson, and others. Man, that one team that was going to win it all.
Expos.
They're going to win it all. And they had the strike.
Yep.
I don't know what year that was.
94.
94. Yep. All right, thank you to all of our great sponsors, our viewers. Appreciate your time.
Sandberg did play for the Expos. That did work out. I doubted myself. I need to stop doing that.
Yeah, he played for the Phillies, too. So.
I heard Andre Dawson. I thought Cubs.
Catalina. And for Ryan Sandberg, God bless you, sir. And then, of course, thinking about John Hoover for Paul Catalina. Good night.